The scene opens exactly as Attack of the Clones does. A windowed elevator climbs the exterior of the Senate apartment building at twilight. Coruscant's skyline glitters behind two Jedi, the traffic streams creating rivers of light against the darkening sky. Obi-Wan Kenobi turns to his Padawan and says, "You seem a little on edge, Anakin." Vader's consciousness slams into his 19-year-old body mid-breath. One heartbeat ago, he stood on the bridge of the Executor, encased in durasteel and agony, breathing through a ventilator, haunted by his son's rejection at Cloud City. The words, "I am your father," still echo in his mind, and Luke's choice to fall rather than join him burns like a fresh wound. Now, in this instant, everything changes. Silence. No respirator. No hiss of recycled air pressing through filters and tubes. He feels his chest expand on its own. His lungs work, real lungs pulling in real air without mechanical assistance. He looks down at two flesh and blood hands, his left hand, his right hand. He flexes the fingers, and they respond. Real nerve endings fire real signals through real tissue. The phantom pain he has carried for over 2 decades simply isn't there. The constant burning sensation where his legs end at mid-thigh, the electrical feedback from damaged nerve clusters in his arms, the pressure sores where the suit interfaces with his skin. Gone. All of it. Gone. Then he looks up and sees Obi-Wan Kenobi. The man he left burning on the black volcanic shores of Mustafar stands 3 feet away, young, whole, and smiling at him with warmth. The man whose legs he cut off, whose body he watched catch fire, whose screams he heard while walking away. That man is here, alive, looking at him like a brother. Vader's first instinct, honed across 20 years of hate, is to kill. The Force surges through him, raw and unfiltered in a way he hasn't felt since before the suit. His body responds with a power he forgot existed. Over 20,000 midi-chlorians per cell, the highest count ever recorded in galactic history, and for the first time in decades there's no damaged tissue limiting the connection. The Force flows through him like a dam has broken. For a fraction of a second his hand twitches toward Obi-Wan's throat. He could crush the man's windpipe before he knew what was happening. He could snap his neck with a thought. The dark side whispers that this is justice, that this is the man who maimed him, who left him to die. He stops himself, not out of love, not out of sentiment, out of strategy. Vader's mind, sharpened by decades of Imperial politics and Sith survival, processes the situation in seconds. The elevator, the Senate building, the twilight. He knows this moment. He lived this moment. This is Attack of the Clones. This is the assignment to guard Senator Amidala. This is 10 years after Naboo, 10 years after he left his mother in slavery, weeks before the Clone Wars begin. Which means Palpatine is alive. Darth Sidious sits in the Chancellor's office, pulling strings, orchestrating the fall of the Republic and the Jedi Order. Count Dooku commands the Separatist army. The clone army waits on Kamino with inhibitor chips already implanted. Order 66 is coded and ready. Everything that will destroy the Jedi is already in motion. And he's the only one who knows, oblivious to the war happening behind Vader's blue eyes. "I haven't felt you this tense since we fell into that nest of Gundarks." He pulls from Anakin's memories, still there, layered beneath decades of dark side corruption like sediment at the bottom of a river. The memories feel distant, like watching someone else's life through a viewport. Young Anakin's thoughts, his feelings, his perspective, it's all accessible, but it doesn't feel like him anymore. It feels like putting on clothing that no longer fits. "You fell into that nightmare, Master," he says, and the word Master tastes like ash. "And I rescued you, remember?" The line comes out exactly as it should, but his voice is quieter than young Anakin's would have been. Less enthusiasm. Less of the eager Padawan trying to impress. Obi-Wan doesn't notice. He laughs, warm and genuine, the sound of a man who trusts his apprentice completely. "You're sweating," Obi-Wan observes. "Relax. Take a deep breath." Vader is sweating, but not from nervousness about seeing Padme. He is sweating because the most powerful Sith Lord in galactic history just woke up inside a Padawan's body, surrounded by Jedi 3 floors away from the woman whose death created him, and he cannot let a single crack show. His heart pounds against his ribs. Real ribs. Ribs that aren't fused to a breathing apparatus. The sensation is overwhelming. He hasn't felt his own heartbeat without mechanical interference in over 20 years. He takes the deep breath Obi-Wan suggested. The air fills his lungs completely. No wheezing, no limitation, no burning. He could cry from the simple act of breathing, but he doesn't. He cannot afford weakness. Not now. Not ever. The elevator continues its climb. Vader watches the city lights and calculates. His body radiates the Force like a star. Over 20,000 midichlorians per cell, the highest count ever recorded. That raw power was always there. It's what makes him the chosen one. The problem is the corruption. 2 decades of Sith immersion have stained his Force signature black. He has bathed in the dark side, fed on suffering, killed more people than he can count. That darkness lives in him like a second heartbeat. Any Jedi within sensing range could detect it if he doesn't hide it perfectly. He draws on what he knows. Palpatine concealed his Sith nature for decades using a technique called Force concealment, what the ancient Sith texts call buried presence. The technique was refined across 1,000 years of the Rule of Two, each Sith master teaching their apprentice how to walk among Jedi without detection. Vader was never as skilled at this as his master. He never needed to hide. As Palpatine's enforcer, his role was to be visible, to be feared. The galaxy knew Darth Vader. The suit announced his presence. There was no subtlety required, but he learned the principle. He watched Palpatine operate for 2 decades. He studied the technique even if he never mastered it. He pulls his dark side energy inward, compresses it, wraps it in layers of emotional control. The technique requires focusing on light side emotions, using them as camouflage. He thinks of Padme, not the rage of her death, not the moment he force-choked her on Mustafar, not the funeral where he watched her body being prepared for burial while imprisoned in the medical center on Coruscant. He pushes those memories down. Instead, he pulls up the memory of her smile, the way she looked at him on Naboo after the Battle of Grassy Plains when she kissed him for the first time in the meadows, the way she laughed when he made a joke about sand, the genuine warmth in her eyes when she told him she loved him. He lets those memories float to the surface of his consciousness. He wraps his dark side presence in them like a cloak. It's crude camouflage. It won't fool Yoda in a meditation chamber. The ancient Grand Master's sensitivity to the Force is too refined, his 900 years of experience too vast. But in an elevator, next to a Jedi Knight who trusts him completely, it holds. His Sith eyes are the second risk. Yellow irises with red rims are not permanent. They flare with active dark side immersion and recede during calm. Count Dooku never displayed them because he was cold and controlled. His dark side used measured and intellectual rather than passionate. Anakin's own eyes shifted back to blue when Padme arrived on Mustafar, before the rage returned, and he choked her. The eyes respond to emotional state, to how deeply someone is drawing on dark side power in the moment. Vader forces calm. He thinks of breathing, of the simple act of pulling air into real lungs. He thinks of his children. Luke, Leia. He doesn't know about Leia yet, doesn't know she's his daughter, but he knows Luke exists. He knows his son refused him on Cloud City, knows the boy would rather die than join the dark side. That memory hurts, but it's also an anchor. His son saw something worth saving in him. His son believed Anakin Skywalker still existed somewhere inside the monster. The eyes stay blue. For now. The elevator doors open. Jar Jar Binks bounds toward them, all flailing limbs and enthusiastic gibberish. Obi! Obi! Mesa's so smiling to see Yosa. The Gungan wraps Obi-Wan in an embrace that would be comical if Vader wasn't using every ounce of concentration to maintain his composure. In the original timeline, young Anakin tolerated Jar Jar with barely concealed annoyance. The Padawan found the Gungan's antics irritating, his manner of speech grating. Vader feels nothing toward Jar Jar Binks. The Gungan is irrelevant. A non-factor. He has killed thousands of beings, far more significant than this bumbling representative. He has choked Imperial officers to death for failures less consequential than anything Jar Jar has ever done. The Gungan's presence doesn't register as worthy of emotional response. But that blankness is itself a tell. Young Anakin would react, would show some expression. Vader forces a polite smile and nods. Jar Jar. The greeting comes out flat. Too controlled. He sees Obi-Wan glance at him from the corner of his eye. They enter the apartment. Captain Typho stands at attention, his cybernetic eye gleaming in the ambient light. Dorme hovers nearby, the handmaiden's posture protective. The security detail is minimal but professional. In the original timeline, this would prove insufficient. Zam Wesell will bypass them entirely within hours. Then Padme Amidala walks into the room. She is 24 years old, alive, whole. Her hair is braided in the style of a Naboo senator, the elaborate arrangement both practical and elegant. Her eyes are sharp with political intelligence and guarded warmth. She wears the robes of her office, the deep colors and fine fabrics marking her status. She looks at Anakin and sees a nervous boy she hasn't seen in 10 years. The last time she saw him, he was 9 years old, a slave child on Tatooine, who helped them escape the Trade Federation blockade. Vader's entire identity fractures. The foundation of his dark side power is grief. She is dead and it is my fault, and the only thing left is rage. That simple equation has sustained him for over 2 decades. Every act of violence, every Imperial officer choked to death, every rebel base destroyed, every planet subjugated, all of it built on the bedrock of her death. He killed her. He force-choked the woman he loved while she was pregnant, and she died. She died because of him, and that guilt transformed into rage, and that rage became power. That foundation just evaporated. The woman he force-choked on Mustafar is standing in front of him, breathing, looking at him like he's still good, like he's still the hero she fell in love with. The Greg Pak comics established that even hearing Padme's recorded voice from the funeral droid, there is still good in him, nearly shattered Vader's composure. He destroyed the droid, demolished the room, and came dangerously close to turning on Palpatine in that moment. Seeing her alive, in the flesh, 24 years old and beautiful and completely unaware of what he will become, this is an order of magnitude worse. His breathing stops, actually stops. He forgets to breathe, and the conscious thought required to restart the process reminds him again that these are his lungs, his body, his life before the suit. Padme tilts her head slightly. Ani, she uses the childhood nickname, her voice gentle but questioning. My goodness, you've grown. Young Anakin would tumble over himself to respond. In the original timeline, he stared at her and stammered out, so have you? Grown more beautiful, I mean, and much shorter. For a senator, I mean. The awkward, fumbling compliment was endearing in its sincerity, the words of a 19-year-old trying to process seeing his childhood crush again after a decade. Vader says nothing for a beat too long. 3 seconds. 4. The silence stretches. Obi-Wan glances at him with concern. Padme's expression shifts from warmth to confusion. He catches himself. He channels young Anakin, pulls the memory of how that boy felt, what he wanted to say. You haven't changed a bit. It comes out quieter than the original Anakin's fumbling compliment. More controlled. The warmth is there, but underneath it is something else. Something heavy. Padme's eyes narrow slightly. She's a politician, trained to read people, to detect incongruities in behavior and speech. Something is different about this boy. She can't name it yet, but she feels it. Obi-Wan moves forward, breaking the moment. He begins discussing the security mandate with Padme, explaining that the Jedi Council has assigned them to protect her after the attempted assassination on the landing platform. A Jedi Knight and his Padawan assigned as her personal guards until the threat is neutralized. While they talk, Vader's mind runs a simultaneous war room analysis. This is what he does. This is what 20 years as the Emperor's enforcer taught him. Assess the situation, identify all variables, calculate optimal strategy, execute with precision. Palpatine is Darth Sidious. Right now, at this exact moment, he sits in his office in the Republic Executive Building, surrounded by red guards, playing the role of the reluctant chancellor who only wants peace. His apprentice, Count Dooku, leads the separatists from the shadows. Together they control both sides of the coming war. The Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems are puppets dancing on strings only they can see. Palpatine has already arranged the clone army on Kamino. The Kaminoans have been growing clones for years, using Jango Fett's DNA, funded by Jedi Master Sifo Dyas, who was manipulated and then murdered to cover the trail. Every clone has an inhibitor chip implanted during embryonic development. Organic control chips embedded in their brains, designed to ensure absolute obedience. Order 66 is already programmed. When Palpatine gives the command, every clone trooper in the galaxy will turn on their Jedi generals and execute them without hesitation. The Jedi are blind. The Sith shrine beneath the Jedi temple leaks dark energy upward, clouding the Council's force perception. It's been there for 1,000 years, built when the Sith controlled Coruscant, deliberately positioned to undermine any force users above it. Yoda senses something wrong, but attributes it to general unrest. The separatist crisis? The political maneuvering? He doesn't realize a Sith Lord sits in the Chancellor's office. Mace Windu's Shatterpoint ability could detect that Vader is fundamentally different from normal Anakin. The technique allows Windu to perceive critical fault lines in people and events, to see where pressure applied will cause something to break or transform. If Mace focuses that ability on Vader, he'll see something wrong. A crack in reality where there shouldn't be one. But he has to be looking. He has to suspect something first. All 12 Jedi Council members are alive and on Coruscant right now. Yoda, Mace Windu, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, Shakti, Ceci Tien, even Piel, Oppo Rankisis, Deepa Bilaba, Eth Koth, Adi Gallia, Coleman Trebor. In the original timeline, most of them will die. Order 66 will slaughter them across the galaxy. The few who survive the initial purge will be hunted down by Vader himself over the following years. He knows the entire timeline of Attack of the Clones. The Kohun assassination attempt will happen tonight. 2 venomous arthropods delivered by an ASN courier droid, bypassing window security deposited onto Padme's bed while she sleeps. Obi-Wan and Anakin will sense the danger just in time. They'll chase the droid, which will lead them to Zam Wesell, the Clawdite changeling bounty hunter. Jango Fett will kill Zam with a Kamino saber dart before she can reveal who hired her. The dart will be the only clue, leading Obi-Wan to Kamino, where he'll discover the clone army. Meanwhile, Anakin will escort Padme to Naboo. They'll fall in love, he'll have nightmares about his mother, he'll go to Tatooine too late and find Shmi Skywalker dying in a Tusken Raider camp. He'll slaughter the entire village in rage. Then he'll go to Geonosis, get captured, fight in the arena, lose his right arm to Count Dooku, and barely survive. The Clone Wars will begin. All of it is predetermined. All of it is Palpatine's design. And all of it leads to the dark side, to Mustafar, to the suit, to becoming Darth Vader. But Vader is already here. He doesn't need to become what he already is. And that changes everything. He makes his first decision. He will not act impulsively. He will play the long game. He will let events unfold close enough to the original timeline to avoid alerting Palpatine, while making surgical changes at critical junctures. Palpatine is the most dangerous being he has ever encountered. More dangerous than Obi-Wan. More dangerous than Yoda. More dangerous than anyone. Because Palpatine understands patience and misdirection at a level that transcends normal thinking. Vader served under this man for 2 decades. He watched Palpatine manipulate the Empire, crush rebellions, orchestrate political purges, and maintain absolute control over a galaxy through nothing but intelligence and ruthlessness. Palpatine has contingency plans layered within contingency plans. He has escape routes prepared for scenarios that haven't occurred yet. He knows essence transfer, a Sith technique that allows transferring consciousness to a new body. Even killing Palpatine's physical form might not end him. So Vader will be patient. He will be smarter than young Anakin was. He will save his mother. He will protect Padme. He will dismantle Palpatine's plans piece by piece, and when the time is right, when every advantage is positioned exactly where it needs to be, he will destroy Darth Sidious. But first, he has to survive the night. Vader's way. Night falls over Coruscant. The cityscape transforms into an ocean of light, billions of beings and thousands of structures creating a glow visible from orbit. In Padme's apartment, Captain Typho reviews security protocols. Dorme prepares the senator's chambers. Jar Jar attempts conversation with Obi-Wan about the political situation in the Senate. His commentary, surprisingly insightful, despite the delivery. In the original timeline, Anakin and Obi-Wan debated using Padme as bait while she slept. Young Anakin hated the idea, his emotions overriding tactical thinking. Obi-Wan argued it was the best way to draw out whoever wanted her dead. They positioned themselves in the main room, ostensibly meditating, actually watching. This time, Vader doesn't debate. He doesn't argue. He tells Obi-Wan, "I'll take first watch." Obi-Wan agrees, noting that his Padawan seems unusually focused. "You've matured, Anakin. The mission to Ancien did you good." Vader nods. He has no memory of Ancien. That was young Anakin's experience, weeks ago in this timeline, years beyond his concern. He sits in the main room and projects an image of meditation. His legs crossed, his hands resting on his knees, his breathing even. To Obi-Wan, who settles into a chair nearby, it looks like a textbook Padawan meditation pose. It's not meditation, it's hunting. Vader extends his force senses outward like a web. This is what the suit prevented. The cybernetics interfered with fine force control, made subtle sensing difficult. He could crush a man's throat from across a room, but feeling the specific texture of individual life signatures required more effort than it should. Now, with his body whole, the Force responds to his will with perfect clarity. He feels every living thing within a kilometer radius. Padme sleeping in her chambers, her Force presence bright and warm. Dorme in the adjacent room, protective even in sleep. Typho on the exterior balcony, alert. Jar Jar in guest quarters, his mind active with concerns about the Senate vote tomorrow. Obi-Wan beside him, touching the Force with the calm discipline of a Jedi Knight. Beyond the apartment, he feels the city. Thousands of beings on this level alone, millions in the surrounding structures. The Force connects them all, a vast network of life energy that he can perceive with crystal clarity. He sorts through it, filtering, searching for anything that doesn't belong. 8 blocks away, he feels it. A moving object with no life signature. Mechanical. Droid. Small. Approaching fast. The ASN courier droid. He recognizes its purpose before it arrives. In the original timeline, this droid carried the Kohuns. He has 6 minutes, maybe 7, before it reaches the building. He doesn't move. Doesn't alert Obi-Wan. He tracks the droid's approach, feeling its path through the Force. It navigates traffic lanes, weaving between larger vehicles, maintaining altitude. Its programming is sophisticated, designed to avoid security detection through unpredictable movement patterns. When it's 4 blocks away, he feels something else. The being controlling it. Zam Wessel, on a building ledge 3 kilometers distant. Her Force signature is faint. She's not Force sensitive, but her attention is focused on the droid's telemetry, watching its approach through whatever display she's using. And behind her, further away, another presence. Jango Fett. The bounty hunter who provided the DNA for the clone army, who works for Count Dooku, who will kill Zam Wessel to prevent her from talking. Vader knows Jango is there because he knows the timeline. In the original version, Jango fired a Kamino saber dart that killed Zam before she could reveal who hired her. The dart became the only clue leading to Kamino. Vader calculates. If he stops the assassination attempt too efficiently, it breaks the timeline. Obi-Wan won't go to Kamino. He won't discover the clone army. The Jedi won't know about the clones until it's too late, but if he lets it play out exactly as before, he gains nothing. He needs a middle path. He needs to stop the attack while preserving the chain of evidence that leads to Kamino. The droid reaches the building. It attaches to the window of Padme's bedroom, 30 meters from where Vader sits. He feels it begin cutting through the glass with a laser torch. The process is silent, designed not to trigger sound-based security. In the original timeline, the Kohuns entered through the cut hole, crawled across Padme's bed, and were about to strike when Anakin sensed danger. The moment was desperate, frantic. They barely saved her. Vader stands. Obi-Wan looks up. Anakin? Something's wrong. He walks toward Padme's chambers. Not running, walking. Controlled. He hears Obi-Wan rise behind him, following. The droid completes its cut. The glass section falls inward, landing on Padme's floor with a soft thump. The Kohuns emerge from the delivery tube, their segmented bodies uncoiling, moving toward the bed with predatory patience. Vader enters the room. Padme sleeps, unaware. The Kohuns are halfway to her pillow. In the original timeline, this is where Anakin drew his lightsaber, and Obi-Wan killed them mid-air with his blade. Vader raises one hand. He doesn't ignite his lightsaber. He doesn't need it. He reaches through the Force and seizes both Kohuns. Not a gentle hold, a crushing grip. Telekinetic pressure that compresses their bodies against the wall, pinning them. The creatures writhe, trying to strike at something they can't reach. He increases the pressure. Their exoskeletons crack. Internal organs rupture. They die in seconds, smeared against the expensive Naboo wallpaper. Obi-Wan arrives in the doorway, lightsaber drawn, and stops. He sees the Kohuns already dead. He sees Anakin standing with one hand raised, not even breathing hard. He sees Padme beginning to wake, confused by the sudden activity. Anakin, how did you? I felt it coming, Master. This is the first red flag for Obi-Wan. In the original timeline, they barely caught the Kohuns in time. Young Anakin's Force sense was strong but not precognitive at this level. This Anakin sensed the threat minutes before it arrived and neutralized it with effortless telekinetic control that a Padawan shouldn't possess. The power level is wrong. The execution is too clean, but the immediate crisis takes priority. Padme is awake now, staring at the dead creatures on her wall. Dorme rushes in, followed by Typho. Security protocols activate. Obi-Wan moves to the window and sees the droid hovering outside. Mission failed, beginning to retreat. In the original timeline, Anakin jumped through the window and grabbed the droid, letting it drag him through Coruscant traffic in a wild speeder chase. It was reckless, dangerous, and ultimately successful through pure luck and piloting skill. Vader says, "The droid has a return signal. If we track it instead of chasing it, we find the source, not just the weapon." Obi-Wan pauses. He was about to leap through the window himself. He looks at his Padawan. This is tactically sound. Disturbingly so for a 19-year-old Padawan who should be running on emotion and instinct. That's actually wise, Anakin. They commandeer a speeder from the building's parking level. Vader takes the controls. His piloting skills are muscle memory, decades of flying TIE fighters and shuttles, and the executor itself. A civilian airspeeder is nothing. He follows the droid's return signal through the Force, tracking its energy signature rather than visual contact. Obi-Wan sits beside him, watching. Anakin's piloting was always exceptional. The pod race on Tatooine proved that. But this is different. This is precision flying without showmanship. No unnecessary risks. No fancy maneuvers. Just efficient pursuit that keeps the droid in range without alerting it that it's being followed. They track it to a building ledge in the lower levels. Zam Wesell stands there, monitoring the droid's approach, unaware that 2 Jedi are descending behind her. In the original timeline, the droid led them to the Outlander Club, where Zam was drinking. There was a confrontation, a chase through the streets, a wild speeder pursuit. It was chaotic and public. Vader lands the speeder on a platform 2 levels above Zam's position. He steps out and simply drops off the edge, 30 meters. Free fall. He lands behind Zam Wesell on the ledge with the Force cushioning his impact, making no sound. She doesn't hear him until he speaks. "Don't move." Not metaphorically. Actually freezes. Force stasis, a technique that locks a target's muscles in place. The blaster falls from her paralyzed fingers. Her changeling features ripple with fear. The clawdite physiology betraying emotion even as she tries to maintain human appearance. Obi-Wan lands beside him seconds later, having used a grappling line rather than free-falling. He stares at Anakin. Force stasis is not a Padawan-level technique. It requires precision control and significant power. "Anakin, what are you?" "Getting answers." Vader steps closer to Zam. In the original timeline, they brought her back to the speeder for interrogation. She resisted. Then Jango Fett killed her with a saber dart before she could talk. The dart was the only clue. Vader doesn't ask questions. He takes answers. He reaches into Zam Wesell's mind with the Force. This is the technique he used on Princess Leia aboard the Death Star, the invasive telepathic extraction that rips through mental defenses and pulls out information by force. It's a dark side technique. Aggressive, painful for the victim, effective. Zam's eyes widen. She tries to scream, but the stasis won't let her. Vader pushes deeper, sorting through her memories like files in a database. He sees Jango Fett's face. He sees a meeting in a dark cantina where Jango hired her. He sees payment transferred. He sees Camino, the rain-drenched cloning facility where Jango lives, where the clone army grows in gestation tanks. He pulls out of her mind. The entire process took 5 seconds. Zam collapses, released from stasis, gasping. Obi-Wan grabs his arm. "Anakin, what are you doing to her?" "That's getting the name of who hired her. That's not the Jedi way." Vader looks at his old master, his friend, the man he maimed on Mustafar, and for a moment he considers telling the truth. That he's not a Jedi, that he hasn't been a Jedi for over 20 years, that he's Darth Vader, Sith Lord, and he just violated this woman's mind because it was efficient and he needed information. But he can't, not yet. So he says, "We don't have time for the Jedi way. She's been hired to kill a senator. More attempts will come. I got what we need." Before Obi-Wan can respond, Vader senses it. Jango Fett, 300 meters away on a rooftop, aiming a projectile weapon. The same saber dart that killed Zam in the original timeline, about to be fired. In the original timeline, the dart struck before anyone knew it was coming. Zam died. The investigation relied on analyzing the dart itself. Vader raises his left hand. He doesn't look at Jango. He doesn't need to see the target. He feels the bounty hunter's presence, feels his finger squeezing the trigger, feels the dart leave the weapon. He stops at mid-air, 300 meters away, moving at supersonic speed, and he stops it with the Force. Holds it motionless. Then he pulls, not just the dart, but the entire weapon, ripped from Jango's hands with telekinetic force. Jango Fett is the most dangerous, non-force-sensitive bounty hunter in the galaxy. He killed Jedi with his bare hands during the Battle of Galadrian. He's wearing full Mandalorian armor right now, equipped with jetpack, flamethrower, missiles, and years of combat experience. None of it matters. Vader reaches out and pulls. The Force seizes Jango's entire body and drags him from the rooftop. His jetpack fires automatically, trying to compensate, but the telekinetic grip is too strong. He's yanked through the air like a fish on a line, tumbling, crashing onto the ledge at Vader's feet. The armored bounty hunter rolls, disoriented, and comes up with a blaster. Vader crushes it with a gesture. Jango reaches for a wrist-mounted flamethrower. Vader tears the entire gauntlet off his arm using the Force, metal screaming as it separates. Obi-Wan is speechless. He has just watched his 19-year-old Padawan casually perform feats of Force mastery that rival senior council members. He stopped a projectile he couldn't see. He pulled an armored man from 300 meters away. He disarmed a Mandalorian warrior without drawing his lightsaber. Jango Fett lies on the ledge, breathing hard inside his helmet. Vader stands over him. "Who hired you?" Jango doesn't answer. Vader doesn't repeat the question. He reaches into the bounty hunter's mind with the same invasive technique he used on Zam. But Jango's mental defenses are stronger. Years of training, mental conditioning, resistance to interrogation. Vader pushes harder. Jango's helmet can't hide the sound of his scream. "Anakin, stop!" Obi-Wan grabs his shoulder. "This is not Tyrannus," Vader says, pulling out of Jango's mind. "He was hired by someone called Tyrannus, and he lives on Kamino. He also has Jango Fett and Zam Wesell alive, in custody, and Obi-Wan looking at him like he's never seen him before." This is the moment where the timeline fractures. In the original version, they had only the saber dart. They had to trace it through Dexter Jettster's analysis, discover it came from Kamino, follow the single thread. Now they have two living sources, a name, Tyrannus, and direct confirmation of Kamino. But they also have Obi-Wan's suspicion. His former master looks at him with concern and confusion. "Anakin, where did you learn to do those things? But first we need to secure these prisoners and report to the council." They bind Jango and Zam with Durasteel cuffs. They call for Jedi Temple security to transport them. They return to Padme's apartment to confirm she's safe. And across Coruscant in the Chancellor's office, Palpatine pauses mid-conversation with Mas Amedda. He feels a ripple in the Force. Something has changed. Something unexpected, he can't identify exactly what. But he is the most paranoid being in the galaxy, a Sith Lord who has survived 1,000 years of accumulated Jedi opposition through careful planning and ruthless adaptation. He begins paying closer attention. The aftermath. First suspicions rise. The Jedi Temple at dawn. The 5 spires rise above Coruscant's endless cityscape, the ancient structure a monument to 10,000 years of Jedi history. In the council chamber at the temple's peak, 12 seats form a circle. Sunlight streams through the windows, painting the chamber in gold. Mace Windu listens to Obi-Wan's report with increasing concern. Beside him, Yoda sits with eyes closed, feeling through the Force. Ki-Adi-Mundi leans forward, his expression skeptical. Plo Koon's respirator hisses softly. The other council members listen in silence. "Let me understand this correctly," Mace says. "Your Padawan sensed the assassination attempt before it happened, killed the Kohuns with telekinesis, stopped a saber dart in flight at 300 meters, pulled a Mandalorian warrior from a rooftop, and extracted information directly from the minds of 2 prisoners, using Force techniques that most Jedi Masters cannot perform." Obi-Wan shifts uncomfortably. "That's an accurate summary, yes. And Skywalker is 19 years old? Been a Padawan for how long?" 10 years. Mace exchanges glances with Yoda. The ancient Jedi's ears twitch, a sign of deep consideration. When Yoda speaks, his voice carries weight. Unusual this is. Greatly unusual. Strong in the Force, young Skywalker has always been. But this, beyond his previous abilities, it goes. The Chosen One prophecy speaks of one who will bring balance to the Force. Perhaps his powers are simply manifesting as foretold. Or perhaps something else is happening, Mace counters. His Shatterpoint ability has been screaming at him since Obi-Wan began the report. He focuses on the concept of Anakin Skywalker, reaches through the Force to perceive the fault lines and critical points surrounding the Padawan. What he sees disturbs him. In the Force, every being creates patterns. Jedi appear as points of light, their presence calm and centered. Dark side users create distortions, ripples of corruption. Normal people are small, neutral signatures. But when Mace looks at Anakin Skywalker through his Shatterpoint ability, He sees something unprecedented, a nexus point of galactic significance so bright it nearly blinds him. This is not new. Anakin has always been a shatterpoint, a being around whom the fate of the galaxy turns, but the intensity has increased. Worse, the internal structure is wrong. Where before there was a singular, if conflicted, presence, now there are layers, like looking at a hologram with two images overlaid imperfectly. One image is a 19-year-old Padawan. The other is something else, something older, darker, more dangerous. Mace opens his eyes. There's something wrong with Skywalker. The council chamber goes silent. Obi-Wan looks like he's been struck. Master Windu, Anakin has done nothing but help. He saved Senator Amidala's life. He captured the assassins. He provided us with critical intelligence. I'm not questioning his loyalty, Mace says carefully. I'm questioning what he's become, or what's happened to him. Yoda taps his gimmer stick against the floor. Clouded, the boy's future has always been. But now, a void I sense. As if shielding himself, he is. From us, Shak Ti speaks for the first time. Master Yoda, if Skywalker is hiding something, shouldn't we confront him directly? Bring him before the council and ask for truth? Not yet, Plo Koon says. His voice carries the distortion of his Antioch's breath mask. But his wisdom is clear. If we accuse without proof, we risk driving him away, or alerting whatever influence might be affecting him. Mace nods. I agree. Obi-Wan, you'll continue the investigation into this Tyrannus and the Camino connection. But I want you watching your Padawan closely. Document anything unusual, any deviations from his normal behavior, any display of abilities he shouldn't possess. And the prisoners? Obi-Wan asks. Jango Fett and Zam Wesell are being held in Republic detention. We'll interrogate them properly, through legal means. Whatever information Anakin extracted, we need to verify through acceptable methods. The council session continues. They discuss the Camino connection, the name Tyrannus, the broader implications of an assassination attempt on a senator. But underneath the political analysis, tension simmers. Three anomalies demand attention. Obi-Wan's report of Anakin's unusual abilities, the dark side disturbance Yoda sensed from Tatooine, and anonymous intelligence that recently arrived corroborating Count Dooku's claim about a Sith-controlled Senate. Someone is moving pieces on the board. Someone knows things they shouldn't. And the council is beginning to realize their understanding of events may be incomplete. After the session ends, Mace pulls Yoda aside. They stand at the window, looking out over the city. What do you sense, Master? Mace asks. Yoda is silent for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is troubled. The boy changed, he has. But how or why? No, I do not. A disturbance in the Force there is, as if the future and past touch in ways they should not. You think this is connected to the Sith. Everything connects to the Sith, it seems. But this, different it feels. Not their manipulation. Something else. Yoda turns his ancient eyes to Mace. Trust the boy, do you? Mace considers. His entire life is built on making judgments about people, seeing where they will break or hold. Anakin Skywalker has always been a shatterpoint so complex that looking at it too long gives him headaches. Now it's worse. I don't know, he admits, but I think we need to find out, before whatever he's become decides to act. Vader visits Palpatine. The Republic Executive Building rises like a monument to bureaucratic power. Vader walks its corridors with Obi-Wan, following the familiar route to the Chancellor's office. He has walked this path 10,000 times in another life. As Palpatine's enforcer, he reported here regularly, delivered news of victories, received orders for the next purge, stood in this very building while the Emperor explained which system would be subjugated next. Now he walks it as a Padawan, and the cognitive dissonance threatens to break his concentration. Red guards stand at attention outside the office doors. In the original timeline, these were Senate guards, elite but non-force sensitive. Vader knows that by the time of the Empire, they'll be replaced with Emperor's royal guards, force-sensitive warriors trained in the dark side, utterly loyal to Palpatine. These current guards are professionals, but they pose no real threat. The doors open. The office is exactly as he remembers from the holograms he studied. Circular, dominated by a massive desk, windows overlooking the cityscape. Palpatine sits behind the desk, flanked by Mas Amedda and Sly Moore. His expression is warm, grandfatherly, the perfect mask of the concerned Chancellor. Ah, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Palpatine says, rising. I heard about the terrible attempt on Senator Amidala's life. Thank the Force you were there to protect her. The man who orchestrated Padme's death, his children's separation, the Jedi purge, the suffering of billions. The man who turned him into a monster and kept him leashed for 2 decades. Every fiber of his being screams to kill Palpatine now, to leap across the desk, ignite his lightsaber, and end the Sith Master before the Clone Wars ever begin. He doesn't move, because Vader is not Anakin. He is a strategist who served under this man for 2 decades and learned exactly how dangerous impulsive action is. Palpatine has contingency plans layered within contingency plans. The 2 red guards at the door are both Force-sensitive. He can feel it now, their training minimal but present. Senate guards fill the building below. Count Dooku commands a separatist army. The clones on Kamino carry Order 66. And Palpatine knows essence transfer, the dark side technique that allows a Sith to transfer their consciousness to a new body upon death. Vader learned about it years into his service, when Palpatine was confident enough to share some of his deeper knowledge. The Emperor had clones prepared, bodies stored in hidden facilities across the galaxy, insurance against assassination. Killing Palpatine's current body might accomplish nothing. So Vader smiles and says, "Thank you, Chancellor. Your concern means a great deal." The Sith Lord's eyes, hidden behind grandfatherly warmth, are analyzing. "The Jedi Council has requested that you escort the Senator to Naboo, I understand, to keep her safe while they investigate this threat." "Yes, Chancellor. A great responsibility for one so young." Palpatine walks around the desk, approaching. He places a hand on Vader's shoulder, the same gesture he used 10,000 times when manipulating young Anakin. "But you've always been special, my boy. The Jedi Council may not appreciate your full potential, but I see it. I've always seen it." The touch makes Vader's skin crawl. This is how it began. Small gestures of favoritism, private conversations, building trust while undermining the Jedi. Palpatine played young Anakin like an instrument, exploiting every insecurity, every fear, every desire for recognition. "You don't need guidance, Anakin," Palpatine continues, his voice dropping to a more intimate tone. "In time you will learn to trust your feelings. Then you will be invincible. I have said it many times, you are the most gifted Jedi I have ever met." Vader meets his gaze. He sees what Palpatine is doing. The same manipulation, the same grooming. And beneath the surface he senses something else. Palpatine's Force presence, normally concealed beneath layers of deception, is slightly more active than usual. The Sith Lord is probing, testing, trying to read Vader's emotional state. He feels something unexpected, confusion from Palpatine. Just a flicker, quickly hidden but present. Anakin's emotional signature is different than the Sith Lord remembers. Where there should be eagerness for praise, there's controlled neutrality. Where there should be frustration at the Jedi Council's restrictions, there's patience. Where there should be passionate attachment to Padme, there's something colder, more possessive, darker. Palpatine can't identify what's wrong, but his survival instincts are unparalleled. He makes a mental note to monitor the situation more closely. Vader carefully projects what Palpatine expects to feel. He pulls on young Anakin's memories of these conversations, how the Padawan felt when the Chancellor praised him. He lets some of that genuine pleasure surface, mixed with carefully measured concern about the Council's judgment. A perfect replica of the emotions that should be there. "Thank you, Chancellor," he says. "Your faith in me is more than the Council shows." Palpatine's expression warms. This is the response he wanted, the seed of resentment toward the Jedi, watered by his praise. "The Council is bound by outdated traditions, my boy. They fear your power because it exceeds their understanding, but I have no such fear. I see only potential." Obi-Wan interjects, uncomfortable with the Chancellor's blatant favoritism. "We should prepare for departure, Anakin. Senator Amidala will need time to arrange her affairs before leaving Coruscant." As they leave the office, Palpatine watches with hooded eyes. Mas Amedda steps beside him once the Jedi are gone. "Something troubles you, Chancellor?" Palpatine is silent for a moment. "Perhaps nothing. Perhaps everything. Skywalker feels different." "In what way?" "I cannot identify precisely how, but the Force whispers warnings." He turns from the window. "Intensify surveillance on the Jedi Temple. I want reports on everything Skywalker does. Every training session, every conversation, every moment. Something has changed, and we must understand what before it disrupts our plans." Mas Amidala bows and leaves. Palpatine sits behind his desk, fingers steepled, mind working. The assassination attempt on Amidala should have proceeded differently. Jango Fett is in custody, along with Zam Wesell. That was not the plan. The plan was for Zam to die, the Jedi to find the saber dart, and Obi-Wan to track it to Kamino while Anakin grew closer to Padme on Naboo. The outcome is similar, but the execution was wrong. Too efficient, too controlled, and the reports he's receiving about Skywalker's combat performance are disturbing. Force abilities beyond what a Padawan should possess. Techniques that require decades of training. Palpatine reaches out through the Force, extends his senses toward the Jedi Temple. He cannot penetrate far. The Jedi's collective presence is too strong, and maintaining his concealment requires not pushing too hard, but he touches the edges. He feels for Anakin Skywalker's signature. It's there, bright, powerful, unmistakable. But something about it makes him uneasy, like looking at a familiar painting and noticing the colors are slightly wrong. He withdraws. Whatever is happening, he will discover it. He has not survived 1,000 years of Jedi opposition by ignoring instinct, and his instinct tells him that Anakin Skywalker may be the greatest threat to his plans, or the greatest opportunity. Time will tell which. Naboo, a love story rewritten. The refugee transport departs Coruscant at dawn. In the original timeline, Anakin and Padme traveled together, along with R2-D2, beginning the journey that would lead to love and tragedy. This time, the setup is identical, but the execution will be completely different. Vader sits across from Padme in the transport's passenger compartment. She's dressed as a refugee, simple clothes replacing the elaborate senatorial robes. Her hair down instead of braided. R2-D2 beeps quietly in the corner. The droid is familiar. Vader worked with R2 throughout the Clone Wars, but also strange. This version hasn't experienced the battles yet, hasn't saved his life 100 times. Padme watches him. She's been watching him since the elevator, trying to understand what changed. The boy she met on Tatooine was enthusiastic, emotional, eager to please. This Anakin is quiet, controlled, watchful. His eyes track every passenger who enters the compartment, every movement in the corridor outside. He sits with his back to the wall, positioned to see all exits. It's the posture of someone who expects attack at any moment. "You've changed," she says finally. Vader looks at her. Really looks at her, allowing himself the moment. She's alive, 24 years old, beautiful, completely unaware that in the original timeline she has less than 3 years to live. The knowledge sits in his chest like a stone. "People change," he says. "Not like this. When we met, you were 9 years old, sweet, brave, but innocent. Now you're..." She trails off, searching for words. "You're like a soldier, like you've seen war already." She's more perceptive than he gave her credit for. But Padme was always intelligent, always observant. She survived politics in the Naboo court from age 14. She navigated the Senate's corruption. She saw through facades professionally. "The Jedi training is rigorous," he offers. "Obi-Wan doesn't move like you do. He doesn't watch doors the way you watch doors. And Obi-Wan's been in combat. You're a Padawan, you've been on diplomatic missions and peacekeeping assignments. So what made you into this?" Vader considers how much truth he can offer. "I've seen things, Padme. Things that changed my perspective, made me realize how dangerous the galaxy is. How quickly everything can be taken away. What things?" He can't answer that. Not yet. So he deflects. "Tell me about the Senate, about what's really happening with the Military Creation Act." The topic change is obvious, but she allows it. For the next hour, they discuss politics, the growing separatist movement, the fact that thousands of systems are leaving the Republic, citing corruption and ineffective government, the pressure on Palpatine to create a Republic military to counter the separatist droid armies. Padme opposes the Military Creation Act passionately. She believes diplomacy can solve the crisis, that creating an army will only escalate tensions into war. Vader listens with the grave attention of someone who knows exactly how this ends. The Republic will get its army. The Clone Wars will begin. Millions will die. And all of it is orchestrated by the man Padme trusts, Chancellor Palpatine. "You think I'm naive," she says, reading his expression. "No, I think you're idealistic. There's a difference. You think the Military Creation Act will pass? I think war is coming whether we want it or not. The question isn't if, it's who will benefit from it." She frowns. "That's a cynical view for a Jedi." It's a realistic view for someone who understands that the Republic is being dismantled from within, not from without. The enemy isn't the Separatists. Then who is the enemy? He meets her eyes. You'll know soon. I'll make sure of it. The transport lands on Naboo in late afternoon. The familiar green landscape spreads beneath them, the lake country's serene beauty unchanged. In the original timeline, this is where Anakin and Padme fell in love, where they walked through meadows, shared private conversations, and eventually confessed feelings that the Jedi Code forbade. This time, Vader steps off the transport and feels nothing but strategic assessment. The terrain is defensible. The retreat at Varikino provides multiple sightlines. The local security is loyal to Padme. If Palpatine sends more assassins, this location offers advantages. They're greeted by a small security detail and transported to the lake country. The villa at Varikino is exactly as Vader remembers from young Anakin's memories. Stone and wood construction, balconies overlooking the lake, interior spaces designed for both elegance and comfort. Padme's family has used this retreat for generations. The first evening, they dine on the balcony. The sunset paints the lake in orange and gold. In the original timeline, this was the scene where Anakin confessed his haunting. I'm haunted by the kiss you should never have given me. It was awkward, passionate, desperate. Vader says very little. He watches Padme across the table and she watches him back. The silence stretches, but it's not uncomfortable. It's weighted, like two people trying to understand a language they both speak, but with different dialects. Ani, she says finally, using the childhood nickname. Where is the boy I met on Tatooine? He grew up. Into what? He could lie. He could tell her he's still that boy, just older, more trained. But Vader has spent 2 decades lying. To himself, to Palpatine, to everyone who asked if Anakin Skywalker still existed inside the armor. He's done with lies. Into someone who understands what's at stake, he says. Into someone who knows that power without purpose is meaningless. But purpose without power accomplishes nothing. Into someone who will protect what matters, no matter the cost. And what matters? He looks directly at her. You. The word hangs in the air. Not a confession of love, a statement of fact. Absolute. Uncompromising. Padme's breath catches. This isn't the awkward crush of a 19-year-old. This is something else entirely. Something intense and possessive, and slightly frightening. Anakin, we barely know each other anymore. 10 years have passed. We're different people. I know exactly who you are, Padme Amidala. You became Queen of Naboo at 14. You negotiated the end of the Trade Federation occupation. You've served in the Senate for 8 years, fighting corruption at every turn. You oppose the Military Creation Act because you believe in diplomacy. You wear Naboo mourning braids in your hair for those who died in the invasion. You can't sleep the night before major Senate votes. You keep a holdout blaster in your chambers that you've never had to fire but practice with regularly. And you value loyalty above all else, which is why you're so devastated every time a political ally betrays that trust. She stares at him. He just recited details about her life that shouldn't be accessible to someone who hasn't seen her in 10 years. Details that are accurate, personal, some of them things she's never told anyone. How do you know these things? Because I've made it my purpose to know. Because in another life I failed to protect you, and I will not make that mistake again. It's too much honesty, too intense. But Vader learned something from 20 years in the suit. Subtlety doesn't matter if you die before saying what needs to be said. Padme deserves to know that she matters, that she's worth protecting, even if the revelation disturbs her. And it does disturb her. She stands, walks to the balcony railing, puts distance between them. You're scaring me, Anakin. I know. I'm sorry. But I can't lie to you. I won't. She turns back to face him. Her political training has kicked in, the part of her that analyzes threats and allies. Who are you, really? Because you're not the boy I met. You might look like him, but everything else is wrong. This is the moment, the decision point. He can continue the deception, try to act more like young Anakin, smooth this over. Or he can give her truth, partial truth, but truth. I'm someone who's lived through horror and came back to prevent it, he says quietly. I'm someone who knows exactly how dark the galaxy can become, because I've been that darkness. And I'm trying, Padme. I'm trying to be something better than what I was. But I can't pretend to be someone I'm not anymore. The boy you met on Tatooine is gone. This is what's left, and if that's not enough, if I'm too damaged to deserve your trust, I understand. but I need you to know that protecting you isn't negotiable, even if you hate me for it." Padme is silent for a long time. The sunset fades to twilight. Stars emerge above the lake. Finally, she speaks. "I don't hate you. I'm confused and concerned. But I don't hate you." She pauses. "Obi-Wan thinks something's wrong with you. He reported it to the council. What do you think?" "I think you're the most dangerous person I've ever met. And I've met assassins, Sith Lords, and war criminals. But I also think—" She stops, considers her words carefully. "I think you're telling me the truth. However impossible it sounds. And that matters." She walks back to the table, sits down across from him again. "So tell me, what horror did you live through? What darkness did you become? And why should I trust that you won't become it again?" Vader takes a breath. This is where the timeline truly fractures. This is where he either builds an alliance based on honesty or destroys any chance of her trusting him. He begins to talk. The confession at Varikino. Padme sits across from Vader, waiting. The political mask she wears in the Senate has fallen away, replaced by genuine human concern, mixed with wariness. She asked for truth. Now she's about to receive more than she bargained for. Vader begins with the simplest statement. "In another timeline, another life, I became Darth Vader, Sith Lord, Emperor's enforcer. I served Palpatine for over 20 years and helped him destroy the Jedi Order and transform the Republic into an empire." She's too disciplined for that, but her hands tighten on the armrests of her chair. Palpatine is the Supreme Chancellor. He's been a friend to Naboo for decades. A friend to the Republic. Sith Master. He has orchestrated this entire crisis. The Separatists, the assassination attempts on you, the coming war, all of it is his design. Count Dooku is his apprentice. The clone army on Kamino was commissioned by a Jedi he manipulated and murdered. Every step of the next 3 years is planned. The Republic will get its army. The Clone Wars will begin. The Jedi will be destroyed, and I will be the weapon he uses to do it. That's impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium, operating under the rule of 2, 1 master, 1 apprentice, always, building power in secret while the Jedi thought them destroyed. Palpatine is the culmination of 1,000 years of planning, and he's brilliant, Padme, more dangerous than anyone realizes. She stands, paces to the balcony. Her mind is working, processing, analyzing. This is what makes her a great senator, the ability to consider impossible scenarios and test them for internal consistency. If what you're saying is true, why hasn't the Jedi Council detected him? Yoda is the greatest Jedi Master in history. Mace Windu has abilities that can perceive deception. How could a Sith Lord sit in the Chancellor's office without anyone knowing? There's a Sith shrine beneath the Jedi Temple. It's been there for 1,000 years since the last time the Sith controlled Coruscant. It leaks dark side energy upward, clouding Jedi perception. That's why the Council keeps saying the dark side clouds everything. They're right. It's literally beneath their feet. And Palpatine uses a Force technique called concealment, refined across generations of Sith. He's hidden in plain sight. And you know this how? You said you lived through another timeline? You expect me to believe you're from the future? Not the future. A future that no longer exists. I lived it. I remember every moment. And then somehow, impossibly, I woke up in this body in that elevator with a chance to stop it all from happening. Prove it. Her voice is sharp, senatorial. If you know the future, prove it. Tell me something that hasn't happened yet. Vader meets her eyes. Within the next 24 hours, I'm going to tell you I'm having nightmares about my mother, that she's in pain, suffering, dying. You'll convince me to go to Tatooine to find her. We'll discover she was freed by a moisture farmer named Klieg Lars, who married her. But she was taken by Tusken Raiders a month ago, in the original timeline. I arrived too late. I found her in their camp, dying from torture. She died in my arms, and I slaughtered the entire village. Men, women, children. It was my first true fall to the dark side. That's extremely specific. When we get to Tatooine, you'll see I'm right about all of it, except the ending. This time I'm going to save her, and if you're wrong, then I'm delusional and you should report me to the Jedi Council immediately. He pauses. But I'm not wrong. I lived through this, Padme. I lived through all of it. The Clone Wars, Order 66, the Jedi Purge, the Empire. I became a monster, and the worst part is that it started with trying to save you. What do you mean? This is the hardest part. The part that will either break her trust forever or forge it into something unbreakable. Vader takes a breath. 3 years from now, in the original timeline, the Clone Wars are ending. I'm a Jedi Knight, a war hero, married to you in secret. You're pregnant with twins. And I start having visions, nightmares of you dying in childbirth. The same kind of visions I had about my mother, which came true. I become obsessed with finding a way to save you. Palpatine exploits that obsession. He tells me the dark side has powers the Jedi consider unnatural, that he can teach me to prevent death. All I have to do is help him destroy the Jedi. Padme sinks back into her chair. And you do it. I do it. I lead the attack on the Jedi Temple. I kill everyone inside, masters, knights, Padawans, younglings, children. Padme. I murder children because Palpatine tells me it's the only way to save you. Then I go to Mustafar to eliminate the separatist leaders. You follow me there, begging me to stop. And I'm so deep in the dark side by then, so convinced that I'm right and everyone else is wrong, that when you tell me you can't follow me down this path, I force choke you. I choke my pregnant wife unconscious, because I think you've betrayed me. He sees her hand move to her throat unconsciously. He continues. Obi-Wan was hiding on your ship. He confronts me. We fight. He cuts off my legs and my left arm. Leaves me burning on the shore of a lava river on Mustafar. Palpatine finds me, encases me in a life support suit that keeps me alive but in constant pain. And you die anyway. Despite everything I did, all the horror I caused, you die. The medical droids save our children, Luke and Leia, twins. But Palpatine tells me I killed you in my anger, that my actions murdered the one person I was trying to save. The silence that follows is absolute. Even the lake seems to have stopped moving. Padme stares at him with an expression that cycles through disbelief, horror, and something that might be pity. For the next 20 years, Vader continues, voice flat. I serve Palpatine as Darth Vader. I hunt down surviving Jedi. I crush rebellions. I enforce imperial law across the galaxy through fear and violence. I become the most hated being in existence. And then I discover I have a son. Luke survived, was hidden on Tatooine. He joins the rebellion. We meet at Cloud City. I tell him I'm his father and ask him to join me. He refuses, chooses to fall to his death rather than turn to the dark side. And in that moment, I realize what I've become, what I've lost. The last moment I remember before waking up in the elevator was standing on my command ship, watching my son reject me, knowing I deserved it. Padme's hands are shaking. She clasps them together to stop it. I don't. I know it sounds insane. I know you have no reason to believe me. But everything I've told you will come true if we don't change it. The assassination attempts on you will continue. There will be more. Obi-Wan will discover the clone army on Kamino. The Battle of Geonosis will begin the Clone Wars. Palpatine will be granted emergency powers. All of it is already in motion. And you want me to do what? Walk into the Senate and accuse the Supreme Chancellor of being a Sith Lord based on the word of a 19-year-old Padawan claiming to be from an alternate timeline? No. I want you to wait, watch, document. When Obi-Wan reports back from Kamino, the pieces will start falling into place. The clone army that shouldn't exist. The Jedi Master Sifo Dyas, who supposedly commissioned it, who died years ago under suspicious circumstances. The inhibitor chips in every clone's brain, designed to ensure obedience. The fact that the separatist leadership is working with someone called Tyrannus, which is Count Dooku's Sith name. Padme is processing faster now, her political mind engaging despite the emotional shock. The Jedi Council knows about Kamino. They're investigating now. Jango Fett is in custody. He'll confirm he was hired by Tyrannus. Obi-Wan will track the lead to Kamino and then to Geonosis. The timeline is still mostly intact. I've just accelerated certain parts. Why? If you wanted to stop Palpatine, why not just tell the Jedi Council everything immediately? Why play along with any of this? Because Palpatine is not a simple enemy. He has contingencies I don't fully understand. Techniques that might let him survive even if his body is destroyed. A network of loyalists embedded throughout the government and military. The clone army's inhibitor chips can be activated remotely. Every Jedi in the field could be killed with a single transmission. If I move too fast, if I alert him that someone knows his plans, he adapts. He's survived for decades by being smarter than everyone else. So I'm building evidence, positioning pieces, making surgical changes that improve our odds without revealing that I know everything. Padme stands again, walks to the edge of the balcony, looks out at the lake. Vader gives her space. This is too much information to process quickly. He's asking her to accept that the man she's trusted for years is the greatest evil in the galaxy. That the boy she met on Tatooine became a monster. That reality itself has somehow been rewritten to give them a second chance. When she turns back, her eyes are hard. Senatorial. You said you slaughtered Tusken Raiders. Men, women, children. You said you murdered younglings in the Jedi Temple. That you became the most hated being in existence. Why should I trust you? Why shouldn't I report you to the Council right now as a dark side threat? It's a fair question. The most important question. Vader doesn't flinch from it. Because I'm not asking for redemption. I can't be redeemed. Those actions happened, even if they haven't happened in this timeline. I carry the memory of every life I took, every atrocity I committed. It's burned into my consciousness like scars on flesh that doesn't exist anymore. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. Then what are you asking for? A chance to ensure you live, that our children live, that the Jedi survive, that Palpatine doesn't win. I'm asking you to let me protect you, even knowing what I am. Because the alternative is that you die, the Jedi die, and the galaxy suffers under Imperial rule for decades. And I can't let that happen. Not again. Padme studies his face for a long moment. Then she says something that surprises him. You said, our children, Luke and Leia. You talked about them like they already exist. In my memories, they do. I held them as infants before Palpatine separated them. I fought Luke on Cloud City. I sensed Leia's force sensitivity but never knew she was my daughter. They're real to me, Padme. As real as you are. And in this timeline, what happens to them? Whether you survive. In the original timeline you died and they were separated. Luke to Tatooine, Leia to Alderaan, hidden from Palpatine and from me. Here, if we do this right, they'll grow up with both parents. Safe, free from the Empire, from the dark side, from all of it. Padme absorbs this, then she makes a decision that will change everything. Prove it. Tomorrow we go to Tatooine. If everything you've said about your mother is accurate, if she was freed by Qui-Gon, if she was taken by Tuskens, if any of it matches reality, then I'll consider that maybe you're telling the truth. But if you're wrong, I'm reporting you to the Council as a security threat. Agreed? Agreed. She nods, turns toward the interior of the villa. At the doorway, she pauses. Anakin, one more question. Yes? Do you still have the dark side in you? You said you became a Sith Lord. That doesn't just go away. Considers telling her he's purged it, that he's light side now, that the danger has passed. But he promised honesty. It's still there, every moment. Like a second heartbeat. 20 years of Sith immersion doesn't wash away, because I woke up in a younger body. I'm managing it, controlling it. But yes, the darkness is still part of me. It always will be. Then you should kill me. Because if I become what I was, I'll be too dangerous to contain any other way. She looks at him for a long moment, then nods and walks inside. Vader remains on the balcony, alone with the stars and the lake and the weight of everything he just revealed. Across the galaxy, in the Chancellor's office, Palpatine stares at a hologram of Naboo's lake country. His surveillance network has limitations. He cannot penetrate the villa itself without alerting the Jedi, but he knows Anakin and Padme are there, and his instincts scream that something is wrong. Tatooine, saving Shmi Skywalker. The refugee transport lands on Tatooine at midday. Twin suns blaze overhead, turning the desert into a furnace. Vader steps onto the sand and feels a cascade of memories. Young Anakin's childhood here, the pod race, leaving his mother, the original timeline's return, and her death. Layer upon layer of association with this planet, none of them good. Padme walks beside him, dressed in practical desert clothing. R2-D2 rolls down the ramp behind them. They rented a land speeder at Mos Espa, and Vader pilots toward the Lars homestead with the certainty of someone who knows exactly where it is. You've been quiet since we left Naboo, Padme observes. Thinking about what comes next? Are you sure about the location? Absolutely certain. The homestead appears on the horizon, moisture evaporators rising from the sand, the dome of the underground structure barely visible. In the original timeline, Anakin arrived here at sunset, frantic and desperate. This time, Vader lands the speeder at dawn, controlled and focused. Qui-Gon emerges from the homestead, supported by a repulsor lift chair where his legs should be. Owen Lars and Beru Whitesun stand behind him, expressions wary. They don't know who these visitors are. Vader removes his hood. My name is Anakin Skywalker. I'm looking for Shmi Skywalker. Klieg's face transforms. Shock, recognition, grief. Annie? Little Annie? But I'm her son. She told you about me. Of course she did. She never stopped talking about you. About how you'd come back someday. Klieg's expression crumbles. But you're too late, son. She's gone. Padme puts a hand on Vader's arm, steadying. Vader keeps his voice level. What happened? Klieg explains. 3 months ago, he bought Shmi from Watto and freed her. They fell in love. Got married, she was happy for the first time in her life. Then, a month ago, Tusken raiders attacked. Took her from the Vaporator field. Klieg led a search party, 30 men. 4 came back. He lost his leg in the fight. The Tuskens are too strong, too numerous. Shmi is gone. Owen adds quietly. We think she's dead by now. The Tuskens don't keep prisoners long. Vader feels the rage building, the same rage that led young Anakin to massacre the camp. But he's not young Anakin. He spent 20 years managing anger, channeling it, using it as fuel, without letting it control him. The dark side whispers that he should kill every Tusken on the planet. He pushes the voice down. Which direction? He asks. What? Which direction did they take her? Klieg points toward the Jundland wastes, east, into the canyon country. But son, you can't. I'm a Jedi, Vader says simply. And she's my mother. I'm bringing her back. He doesn't ask permission, doesn't debate. He takes a speeder bike from the homestead. Klieg offers it without question, and rides into the desert. Padme tries to follow, but Vader tells her to stay. This is going to be violent. You shouldn't see it. I'm coming with you. No. His voice carries absolute authority. Stay with the Lars family. I'll be back before sunset. He accelerates into the wasteland before she can argue further. The Force guides him. He extends his senses across the desert, searching for life clusters that match Tusken patterns. Most Tuskens are nomadic, traveling in small family groups. But raiding parties operate from larger camps, 30 to 50 individuals, semi-permanent structures. He finds it within an hour. A canyon settlement, tents arranged around a central fire pit, banthas grazing on scrub vegetation nearby. He parks the speeder bike 2 kilometers out and approaches on foot, using the Force to muffle his presence. This is where the timeline diverges most violently from the original. In Attack of the Clones, Anakin arrived at sunset, alone, desperate. He snuck into the camp, found his mother dying, and exploded into massacre. This time, Vader arrives at dawn, calculating, focused on the objective. He reaches the camp's perimeter and extends his senses throughout the entire settlement. He maps every Tusken, 43 total, every tent, every guard position. He locates Shmi in a tent at the camp center. She's alive, barely, dehydrated, beaten, starving. But her Force signature, faint and flickering, still burns. In the original timeline, Anakin's love for his mother drove him to slaughter. That same love existed in Vader, buried beneath decades of darkness. But where young Anakin would have charged in on emotion, Vader approaches this tactically. He doesn't sneak. He walks directly toward the camp entrance. The first Tusken sentry sees him and raises a Gaddafi stick, the traditional sand-person weapon. The raider charges, raising the weapon overhead in a killing strike. Vader doesn't ignite his lightsaber. He reaches out with the Force and stops the Tusken mid-stride. Not Force stasis this time, something more brutal. He closes his fist and the Force closes around the raider's internal organs, crushing them. The Tusken drops without a sound. 2 more rush from behind a dune, alerted by some tribal communication Vader doesn't understand. He lifts them both with telekinesis and slams them together with enough force to shatter bones. They collapse in a heap. The camp is alerted now. Tuskens pour from tents, weapons raised, voices raised in war cries that echo through the canyon. 40 warriors, all converging on the single intruder. Vader walks forward. This is the hallway scene from Rogue One, translated to a desert camp. Slow, deliberate, unstoppable. A group of 5 charges as a coordinated unit. Vader extends both hands and the air in front of him becomes a wall of compressed Force energy that scatters them like leaves in a wind. 3 of them smash into canyon walls. 2 hit the ground hard enough to not get up. A Tusken comes from the left with a projectile rifle. Vader senses the shot before it's fired, turns, and the bullet freezes midair 3 meters from his chest. He reverses its momentum and sends it back into the shooter's throat. He reaches the tent circle. Tuskens attack from every direction. Vader creates a spear of force pressure around himself, expanding outward in a pulse that throws a dozen raiders backward simultaneously. The ones who maintain their feet charge again. He raises one hand and lightning arcs from his fingertips, not the refined torture lightning Palpatine uses, but raw electrical force energy channeled through 20,000 midi-chlorians. It chains between targets, dropping them instantly. A Tusken gets close enough to swing a Gaddafi. Vader catches it mid-swing with one hand, his organic strength augmented by the Force. He tears the weapon away, snaps it in half, and drives the broken end through the Raider's chest in one motion. He doesn't feel triumph, doesn't feel righteousness. This is pest control. These beings took his mother and tortured her for a month. In the original timeline, young Anakin killed them in rage. Here, Vader kills them in cold, calculated efficiency. They are obstacles between him and his objective. Nothing more. The camp falls silent. 43 Tusken Raiders dead in less than 5 minutes. Vader didn't draw his lightsaber once. He enters Shmi's tent. She's bound to a frame, emaciated, her body covered in bruises and cuts. Her eyes are closed. For a terrible moment, he thinks he's too late. Then they open. Blue eyes, faded with pain and dehydration, focusing on his face. Anakin? Is it really? I'm here, Mom. I'm here. He cuts her bonds with the Force, catches her as she collapses. She weighs almost nothing. He reaches inward, drawing on every healing technique he learned. The Force flows through him into her, knitting damaged tissue, restoring fluids, stabilizing failing organs. It's crude Force healing, nothing like what a dedicated healer could accomplish. But it's enough. She doesn't die. For the first time, Vader undoes one of his greatest failures. He carries her out of the camp. The dead Tuskens lie where they fell. The banthas have scattered. The canyon is silent except for the wind. Halfway back to the speeder bike, Shmi regains consciousness. She looks up at his face, reaches up with a trembling hand to touch his cheek. You came back. You came back for me. I'll always come back for you. Tears stream down her face, not tears of pain, tears of relief, of joy, of a prayer answered. I knew you would. I told Cliegg you would. I knew my son would save me. Vader's own tears come then, silent, unstoppable. He has cried exactly twice in the last 20 years. Once when Palpatine first sealed him in the suit, and he realized what he'd become. Once when Luke fell at Cloud City, choosing death over joining him. Now carrying his mother out of the desert alive, he cries for the third time. But underneath the tears, underneath the relief and the joy, the darkness pulses. He slaughtered 43 beings today. Not in self-defense. He could have extracted Shmi without killing most of them. He killed them because they deserved it, because they hurt what was his, because the dark side whispered that this was justice, and he feels no guilt about it whatsoever. He returns to the Lars homestead as the afternoon sun blazes. Padme sees him coming across the desert, a figure carrying another figure, both alive. Cliegg Lars wheels himself out of the homestead, sees his wife alive, and breaks down sobbing. Beru brings water, food, medical supplies. They get Shmi inside, into a bed, begin the process of real medical care. She's weak but stable. She'll survive. Owen pulls Vader aside while the others tend to Shmi. What happened to the Tuskens? They won't hurt anyone again. Owen's expression is complicated. He's a practical man, a farmer who understands that Tatooine is a harsh world where violence is sometimes necessary. But there's something in Anakin's tone that makes him uneasy. How many? All of them. You killed the entire camp? Yes. Was that necessary? They tortured my mother for a month. Necessary doesn't enter into it. He sees something in Anakin's face that frightens him. Not rage, not fury, but cold certainty. This young Jedi killed 40-plus beings and feels nothing about it. Padme catches the exchange from across the room. She sees Vader's expression, hears the flatness in his voice. This is what he warned her about. The darkness is still there, and it just manifested in the most brutal way possible. That night, after Shmi is stable and sleeping, Padme and Vader talk in the homestead's courtyard. You were right about everything, she says. Cliegg Lars, the marriage, the Tusken abduction. All of it exactly as you said. I know. You slaughtered them. The entire camp. Yes. Men, women, children. Just like you said you did in the original timeline. In the original timeline, I did it in blind rage after watching my mother die. Here, I did it in cold calculation before bringing her back alive. The outcome for the Tuskens is identical. The motivations are different. Padme sits down on a bench overlooking the desert. Does that make it better or worse? I don't know. Probably worse. Rage is at least understandable. This was just efficiency. Did any of them surrender? Try to run. Some ran. I killed them anyway. Why? Vader is silent for a moment. Then, because the dark side in me doesn't care about surrender or mercy. It cares about eliminating threats. They were a threat to my mother, so I eliminated them completely. And you feel nothing about it. I feel relief that my mother is alive. Beyond that, no. The Tuskens are dead and I'm not sorry. Padme processes this. Everything Anakin told her at Varakino is proving true. The specific predictions, the knowledge of events that haven't happened, the existence of the darkness inside him. What do we do now? Now we wait for Obi-Wan's report from Geonosis. The next phase is already in motion. He felt something. Not the anguished dark side eruption of the original timeline's Tusken massacre. Something colder. A focused application of lethal force, tightly controlled but undeniably dark. He opens his eyes. Troubling, this is. Mace Windu is contacted minutes later. Yoda shares what he sensed. They agree. Something is happening with Anakin Skywalker, something that requires immediate attention once the Geonosis situation is resolved. And in the Chancellor's office, Palpatine smiles. He felt it too. The dark side, flowing through Anakin. Strong, controlled, powerful. Perhaps the boy's potential is manifesting faster than expected. Perhaps he can be turned sooner than planned. The Sith Lord makes adjustments to his timeline. The Shadow War against Palpatine. While Obi-Wan investigates Kamino, Vader wages his secret campaign. The pieces must be positioned perfectly before the final confrontation. Palpatine cannot suspect. The Jedi cannot interfere prematurely. Everything requires surgical precision. Move 1. The inhibitor chips. Vader knows the chips are implanted during embryonic development in the Kamino and cloning facilities. He cannot remove them from all 3 million clones in various stages of growth. The operation is too large, too monitored, but he can compromise the system. He needs access to Kamino's core programming. He manufactures a reason to visit. He tells Padme he's concerned about the clone army Obi-Wan discovered, that as a Jedi he should investigate before reporting to the Council. She agrees. It's reasonable caution. They travel to Kamino in a civilian transport, arriving one day after Obi-Wan departed for Geonosis. Lama Su, the Prime Minister of Kamino, greets them with polite confusion. We've already hosted a Jedi. Master Kenobi inspected our facilities thoroughly. I'm here for a different purpose, Vader says. I need to understand the clones' training protocols, their conditioning, how you ensure loyalty. The Kaminoans are proud of their work. They show Vader the training facilities, the flash learning chambers, the behavioral modification systems is the inhibitor chip protocol. Vader has 20 years of Imperial intelligence experience. He knows how to infiltrate systems, how to plant code, how to corrupt programming from within. While Lama Su explains the chip's purpose, ensuring absolute obedience to command structure, Vader reaches out with the Force into the nearby computer systems. He doesn't destroy the chips. That would be noticed immediately. Instead, he implants a subroutine, a tiny piece of code that will activate when Order 66 is transmitted. The clones will receive the command, their chips will process it, and then the subroutine will corrupt the signal, introducing noise, degrading the imperative. Some clones will ignore it entirely. Others will hesitate long enough for their Jedi commanders to sense something wrong. A few will still execute, enough to seem like an attack, not enough to slaughter the entire order. It's subtle sabotage, the kind Palpatine himself would employ. And Vader learned from the Master. He plants the code across all active clone batches, 200,000 deployed clones, another 800,000 in final training stages. The clones still in embryonic development will require a different approach, but those won't be combat-ready for months. Time enough to refine the solution. Taun We, the Kaminoan administrator, shows them the clone command structure. Each clone is programmed to respond to specific priority orders. Order 65, for example, allows for the removal of the Supreme Chancellor in case of corruption or treason. Order 66 is, I'm familiar with Order 66, Vader interrupts. He doesn't elaborate. Move 2, building the evidence file. Vader compiles a comprehensive data packet. Everything he knows about Palpatine's dual identity, his connection to Dooku, the manufactured separatist crisis, the clone army's true purpose, the planned transformation of the Republic into an empire. He includes Sith command codes he remembers from his years as Vader, communication frequencies Palpatine used to contact Dooku, financial records that can be traced to prove the Chancellor funded both sides of the conflict. The evidence is circumstantial, it has to be, because direct proof doesn't exist yet, but it's internally consistent. It tells a story that makes sense. A Sith Lord infiltrating the Republic at the highest level, playing both sides against each other, using war to accumulate emergency powers that will let him transform democracy into dictatorship. He encrypts the file using Jedi protocols and prepares it for delivery to specific council members at the right moment. Not yet. Too early, and Palpatine will sense the trap. But soon. Move 3. Planting doubt in the council. Obi-Wan's report from Geonosis will help. The discovery of the Separatist leadership meeting, Count Dooku's presence, the droid foundries, all of it confirms that war is imminent. But Vader needs more. He needs the Council to take Dooku's claim about a Sith-controlled Senate seriously. He creates an anonymous intelligence file, makes it look like it came from a separatist frequency, leaked by a disillusioned member of their military. The file contains partial transcripts of communications between Lord Tyrannus and Lord Sidious. Nothing too specific, nothing that would seem fabricated, but enough to corroborate that the Separatists are being controlled by someone called Sidious. He transmits it to the Jedi Temple's intelligence division with a routing that makes it look like it was intercepted from Separatist channels. The analysts will flag it, investigate, eventually bring it to the Council's attention. When combined with Obi-Wan's report that Dooku mentioned a Sith Lord controlling the Senate, the pieces start forming a picture. Not proof. Not yet. But reasonable suspicion. The Council will have to take it seriously. Move 4. Preparing Padme. Over the days on Tatooine, while Shmi recovers, Vader works with Padme. She's decided to believe him. The accuracy of his predictions about his mother proved that much. When we get to Geonosis, he tells her, events will move fast. The Separatists are gathering there. Obi-Wan is being held prisoner. The Jedi will mount a rescue operation. The clone army will arrive. The first battle of the Clone Wars will begin. And you knew all of this would happen? I lived through it. In the original timeline, I disobeyed orders to rescue Obi-Wan. You came with me. We were captured. The Jedi mounted a rescue operation that turned into a full battle. Count Dooku escaped. The war began. So we just let it happen the same way. That eliminates Palpatine's apprentice and disrupts his plans. The Separatists will still exist, but without leadership, they'll fragment. The war might still happen, but shorter, less destructive. Padme absorbs this. You're going to kill a Sith Lord. You're 19 years old. I'm 19 years old with the skills and knowledge of a 45-year-old Sith Lord in his prime. Dooku is powerful, but I know his fighting style. I know his weaknesses. And I have something he doesn't expect. The full power of the Chosen One in a body with no limitations. The Jedi Council won't approve of assassination. The Jedi Council doesn't need to know it was assassination. In combat, things happen. Dooku was a traitor and a Sith. No one will mourn him. Shmi recovers over 3 days. Vader uses force healing sessions every morning and evening, accelerating her recovery beyond what normal medicine could achieve. By the 3rd day, she can walk, talk, eat solid food. The Lars family is amazed. They've never seen Jedi healing at this level. Klieg pulls Vader aside on the final evening. What you did for her, I can never repay that. But son, I have to ask, what happened in that camp? The whole settlement is dead. Every single Tusken. What kind of Jedi does that? Vader looks at the man who married his mother, who gave her happiness in her final years. The kind who won't let anyone hurt his family. Ever. He's not entirely comfortable with the answer, but he understands it. This is Tatooine. Survival often requires harsh action. You're leaving soon. Tomorrow, there's a situation developing on Geonosis. I need to be there. Will you come back? Yes. When this is over, when the immediate crisis is resolved, I'm bringing my mother to Naboo. She's not staying on this planet. She deserves better than sand and moisture farming. She walks out, still weak, but improving, and wraps her arms around her son. You've changed, Ani. You're not the little boy I remember, but you're still my son, still my miracle. I'm going to make sure you're safe, Mom, no matter what it takes. That night, Vader receives a coded message from Obi-Wan. His former master has been captured on Geonosis. The Separatist leadership is gathering. He's requesting backup. The Battle of Geonosis is about to begin. Vader and Padme depart Tatooine the next morning. Shmi stays with the Lars family temporarily. Moving her during recovery would be dangerous. Vader promises to return within a week to relocate her to Naboo. She believes him. After everything he's done, how could she not? As their ship enters hyperspace toward Geonosis, Padme asks the question that's been bothering her. In the original timeline, after all this, after Geonosis, what happened to us? You said we married in secret. We did. Against the Jedi Code. We hid it for 3 years. You got pregnant. I started having visions of your death. And everything fell apart? And in this timeline? Vader considers. The honest answer is complicated. He's not young Anakin, fumbling through a teenage romance. He's a man who already lived through marriage, loss, and 2 decades of grief. What he feels for Padme isn't the passionate crush of a 19-year-old. It's something deeper, more desperate. She's alive, and he needs to keep her that way. Whether that's love or obsession, he's not sure anymore. In this timeline, he says carefully, we don't repeat the same mistakes. We don't hide. When the time comes, we face the Jedi Council with the truth and deal with the consequences. But first, we survive. Everything else is secondary. Padme looks at him, this strange, damaged man who carries the memories of a future that won't happen, who slaughtered 43 beings to save his mother and feels no remorse, who claims to love her but talks about it like a tactical objective. I don't know if I can love you, she says honestly. The boy I met on Tatooine, maybe, but you're not him anymore. I know, but I believe you're trying to save people, to stop something terrible from happening. And that matters. It's enough. Behind them, on Coruscant, the Jedi Council convenes to discuss Obi-Wan's message. Yoda senses darkness ahead. Mace feels shatterpoints aligning. The moment of crisis approaches. And in the Chancellor's office, Palpatine senses it too. His carefully laid plans are developing irregularities, small deviations from the expected path. Anakin Skywalker is at the center of every deviation. The boy is either becoming more useful than anticipated or more dangerous. Time will tell which. Either way, Palpatine makes adjustments. He contacts Dooku via encrypted hologram. Be prepared. Young Skywalker may be more formidable than we expected. If he arrives on Geonosis, test him. Push him. I want to see what he's truly capable of. Dooku bows. Yes, my master. The pieces are in motion. The Battle of Geonosis will be the crucible where everything changes. Geonosis, the arena and the betrayal. The crimson sands of Geonosis stretch beneath a harsh sun. Massive spires rise from the desert. Geonosian hive structures, architectural nightmares of stone and biological growth. In the original timeline, Vader remembers arriving here in secret with Padme, attempting a rescue, getting captured. This time, he approaches with full knowledge of what's waiting. The Separatist leadership is meeting in the primary spire, he tells Padme as they navigate through Geonosis' orbital approach. Count Dooku, Nute Gunray, Wat Tambor, San Hill, Poggle the Lesser. The entire Confederacy command structure. Obi-Wan is being held prisoner somewhere in the complex. In the original timeline, we tried to rescue him and got captured ourselves. But I need you to send a message first. To the Jedi Council. Tell them Obi-Wan's situation. Our position. Request backup. Make it look like we're trying to avoid capture but accept it might happen. Padme sends the transmission. Within minutes, the Jedi Council receives her message. Mace Windu makes the decision immediately. They need to act. He dispatches a strike team. 212 Jedi, gathered from across the galaxy, converging on Geonosis. The largest Jedi military operation in 1,000 years. Vader and Padme land in the droid factory sector. In the original timeline, this led to the assembly line sequence, conveyor belts and stamping presses, and near-death experiences. Vader bypasses it entirely. He knows where Obi-Wan is being held, the detention level of the primary spire. He navigates directly there using service tunnels. They find Obi-Wan suspended in an energy field, arms stretched overhead, clearly having been interrogated. His former master looks up in surprise. Anakin? Padme? What are you doing here? Rescuing you, master, Vader says. He deactivates the energy field with a force manipulation of the controls. Obi-Wan drops, stumbling but catching himself. This is suicide. The entire Separatist leadership is here, Thousands of battle droids. We need to get out now. We won't get out. That's the point. Obi-Wan stares at him. What? We're going to be captured and taken to the arena. The Jedi Council received Padme's message. They're sending a strike team. The Battle of Geonosis begins with us as bait. Anakin, that's insane. You can't plan to... He's interrupted by the sound of droidekas rolling into the corridor. Dozens of them, deployed to recapture the escaped prisoner. Their shields activate, blaster cannons charging. Vader doesn't draw his lightsaber. He raises one hand and 10 droidekas simultaneously crumple inward, their shields collapsing as he crushes their internal mechanics with the Force. The remaining droids open fire. Vader deflects the bolts with a Force barrier, then reaches out and tears the corridor's ceiling down on top of them. Obi-Wan watches in stunned silence. His Padawan just destroyed 20 combat droids without igniting a lightsaber. More droids arrive. Too many to fight through. Vader allows them to surround the group, allows them to be taken into custody. Obi-Wan realizes his Padawan actually planned this, and the realization is disturbing. This level of tactical thinking, this acceptance of capture as a strategic position, it's not how a 19-year-old should operate. They're brought before Count Dooku. The elderly Sith Lord sits in a conference chamber overlooking the droid foundries. His white hair and beard are immaculate, his posture aristocratic. He looks at Vader with interest. Anakin Skywalker, the famous chosen one. My master speaks highly of you. Vader meets his eyes. Your master is going to be disappointed. Dooku's expression shifts slightly. That wasn't the response he expected. Young Anakin should be confused, should ask who his master is. This Anakin already knows. Indeed, Dooku says carefully. He turns to Obi-Wan. Master Kenobi, I've already made you an offer to join us. The Republic is corrupt. The Jedi are blind. Together we could. I'd rather die than join you, Obi-Wan says flatly. Then you'll have your wish. All of you will be executed in the arena at noon tomorrow. The Geonosian Archduke insists on a public spectacle. Dooku stands. A pity. Young Skywalker especially could have been useful. They're taken to holding cells. Obi-Wan immediately begins planning escape. Vader tells him to stop. We're not escaping. The Jedi are coming. We wait for them, and if they don't arrive in time, they will. Master Windu will lead the strike team. They'll arrive just as the execution is about to begin. The clone army will arrive shortly after, led by Master Yoda. Everything is proceeding as it needs to. Obi-Wan looks at his Padawan with growing alarm. How do you know all this? Because I've lived through it before, and I'm making sure it happens better this time. That night in the holding cell, Padme asks Vader the question that's been bothering her since they arrived. You seem almost happy about this, about being captured, about the battle that's coming. Not happy. Focused. This is the moment where everything changes. After tomorrow, Dooku is dead. Palpatine loses his apprentice. The Separatists lose their leadership. The war still happens, but we control how it happens. And the Jedi who will die in this battle, the clones who will die, they're just acceptable losses? Vader is silent for a moment. In the original timeline, the Clone Wars lasted 3 years. Billions died. Entire planets were destroyed. The Jedi Order was exterminated. If I can prevent that by sacrificing a few hundred lives tomorrow, yes, it's acceptable. That's a dark calculus. It's the only calculus that matters. Padme lies down on the stone bench serving as a bed. You're not wrong. You're just cold. The boy I met on Tatooine cared about every life. You care about outcomes. The boy you met on Tatooine became a monster because he cared too much about one life and not enough about consequences. I'm trying to find a balance. If that makes me cold, so be it. The next morning, they're taken to the execution arena. The Geonosian Petronaki Arena is a massive oval structure carved from stone, seating for thousands of spectators. In the center, 3 pillars rise from the sand. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme are chained to them. Anakin on the left, Obi-Wan in the center, Padme on the right. The crowd roars. Geonosians fill the stands, clicking and chittering in excitement. The Separatist leadership watches from a private box. Dooku, Gunray, Tambor, all of them. In the original timeline, this is where 3 arena beasts were released, a Reek, an Acklay, and a Nexu. The beasts enter. The Reek charges toward Anakin, a massive, rhinoceros-like creature with armor plating and a vicious temperament. In the original timeline, young Anakin wrestled with it. eventually tamed it through impressive but clumsy effort. Vader breaks his chains with a surge of force strength. The durasteel links snap like thread. He steps away from the pillar and raises one hand toward the charging reek. The beast stops mid-charge. Its mind, simple and violent, encounters a force presence so overwhelming that resistance is impossible. Vader doesn't tame it. He dominates it. The reek's will collapses. It becomes a puppet, and Vader is the one holding the strings. He rides the creature toward the Nexu, threatening Padme. The Nexu is a quadrupedal predator, all claws and teeth and feline aggression. It leaps toward Padme's pillar. Vader reaches out with the Force and seizes it mid-air. The creature freezes, suspended 3 meters off the ground, struggling against telekinetic bonds it can't break. He closes his fist. The Nexu's skull implodes. The creature drops to the sand, dead before it hits the ground. Obi-Wan is facing the Acklay, a massive mantis-like creature with blade-tipped limbs and armor plating. The Acklay is the most dangerous of the 3 beasts, capable of killing experienced Jedi. It raises one limb to strike Obi-Wan down. Vader extends his free hand. The Acklay is torn away from Obi-Wan's pillar and hurled across the arena. It crashes into the wall with enough force to crack stone. It tries to rise. Vader makes a crushing motion, and the creature's exoskeleton collapses inward, internal organs pulped by telekinetic pressure. The entire sequence took 90 seconds. The arena falls silent. Thousands of Geonosians stare at the human who just killed 3 arena beasts with the Force alone. In the Separatist box, Count Dooku leans forward. This is not the Padawan he expected. This is something else entirely. In the stands, arriving silently through entrances spread around the arena, 212 Jedi ignite their lightsabers simultaneously. The sudden activation creates a wave of colored light, blue, green, yellow, that sweeps around the arena's circumference. Mace Windu's voice booms across the arena, amplified by the Force. This party's over. The Battle of Geonosis begins. The Battle of Geonosis, chaos and convergence. 212 Jedi ignite their lightsabers in perfect synchronization. The arena transforms from an execution ground into a war zone in seconds. Battle droids pour from every entrance. B-1s, B-2s, droidekas. The Geonosians in the stands panic. Some fleeing, others attacking with sonic weapons built into their wings. Mace Windu leads the charge. His purple blade cuts through the first wave of droids like they're made of paper. Kit Fisto's green blade whirls beside him. Plo Koon advances with controlled precision. Shaak Ti coordinates the Jedi spread throughout the stands. This is the largest Jedi military operation in 1,000 years, and they execute it with devastating efficiency. Vader breaks Obi-Wan and Padme's chains with Force manipulation. He tosses them lightsabers, weapons taken from fallen droids' grasps, telekinetically. Padme catches hers awkwardly. She's fired blasters her whole life but never wielded a lightsaber. Obi-Wan activates his immediately, dropping into Soresu guard position. Anakin, what are you? Fight now. Questions later. The arena floor becomes a meat grinder. Jedi engage battle droids in close quarters. Coleman Trebor charges toward the Separatist box, attempting to assassinate Dooku. In the original timeline, Jango Fett shot him mid-leap. This time, Vader senses the bounty hunter aiming and reaches out through the Force. Jango's blaster is ripped from his hands before he can fire. Coleman reaches the box and engages Dooku directly. The elderly Sith draws his curved lightsaber, the crimson blade igniting. His Form 2 Makashi is elegant and precise. Coleman's Form 5 Ataru is aggressive and acrobatic. For a moment, they're evenly matched. Then Dooku's superior experience tells. A feint, a riposte, and Coleman's guard opens. Dooku's blade punches through his chest. Another Jedi falls. But this time, a dozen more immediately converge on Dooku's position. The Count is forced to retreat, leaping from the box to the arena floor below. He lands in the chaos, surrounded by Jedi and droids locked in combat. Vader tracks Dooku's movement through the Force. He fights his way across the arena floor, lightsaber finally drawn. His gem so strikes demolish battle droids with single blows. Where young Anakin would have improvised and taken risks, Vader applies 2 decades of refined technique. Every movement is efficient. Every strike has purpose. No wasted energy. Obi-Wan fights beside him, noticing the difference. Anakin's lightsaber form is correct, textbook gem so, but the application is wrong. Too practiced, too refined. This is how a master fights, not a Padawan. Anakin, your technique, later, Master. Mace Windu cuts through the droid ranks toward the Separatist leadership. Newt Gunray flees. Watambor activates his personal shield and retreats. The coordination between Jedi is extraordinary. Hand signals, force-assisted communication, practiced teamwork. They're outnumbered 50-1, but they're Jedi, and they're winning. Until the terrain shifts. From the arena's underground levels, massive Geonosian war machines emerge. Spider droids, four-legged walking artillery platforms with heavy cannons. The droids open fire on the Jedi positions. Suddenly the battle becomes exponentially more dangerous. Jedi begin falling. Not many, but enough. The casualty count starts rising. Then the sound that changes everything. Atmospheric engines. Massive, thunderous, unmistakable. Republic gunships descend from the sky. LAT/I transports, hundreds of them, carrying clone troopers in white armor. The Kaminoan clone army, deployed for the first time in combat. The gunships strafe the spider droids with laser fire, providing cover. They land throughout the arena, deploying troops. Yoda arrives in one of the lead gunships. The ancient Jedi Master steps onto the sand, his presence in the Force like a beacon. Begun, the Clone Wars have. The clones establish perimeter positions. Their training is immediately evident. Professional, coordinated, effective. They lay down suppressing fire that allows the Jedi to regroup. The battle shifts from desperate defense to organized offense. Vader watches the clones deploy and feels a complicated mixture of emotions. These are the men who will execute Order 66 in the original timeline. The men who will turn on their Jedi generals and slaughter them without hesitation. But they're also individuals. Captain Rex, Commander Cody, Fives, Echo, thousands of brothers who deserve better than being Palpatine's slaves. He sabotaged the inhibitor chips. When Palpatine eventually gives the order, most of these men will be free to choose. But the sabotage won't save everyone. Some chips will still function. Some Jedi will still die. It's an acceptable outcome compared to the alternative, but it's not perfect. Nothing ever is. Mace Windu's voice cuts through the battle noise, amplified by the Force. Jedi, withdraw to the gunships. We're pulling back. The Jedi begin fighting retreat. The clones provide covering fire. Gunships swoop low to extract wounded. The battle is won. The Separatist leadership is fleeing. The droid army is being decimated, but the cost is evident. Bodies in Jedi robes lie scattered across the arena sand. Vader counts them as he retreats. 43 Jedi dead, over 100 wounded. Better than the original timeline's numbers, but still a massacre by Jedi standards. Dooku uses the chaos to escape. He fights his way to a private landing platform, where a solar sailor awaits, his personal ship, sleek and fast. Several Jedi pursue, but he's too quick, too skilled. His Form 2 creates an impenetrable defensive wall as he backs toward the ship. Vader sees him retreating and makes a decision. Padme, get to a gunship. Master, cover her. Anakin, what are you? He doesn't answer. He runs toward Dooku's position, using the Force to augment his speed. He covers 100 meters in seconds, leaping over droid wreckage and fallen bodies. He lands on the platform just as Dooku is about to board his ship. Leaving so soon? Vader calls out. Dooku turns. His red blade is still ignited. His expression is curious, calculating. Young Skywalker, your performance today has been impressive. My master will be very interested to hear about you. Your master is going to be disappointed. You won't be reporting anything. Dooku's eyes narrow. Bold words for a Padawan. Do you really think you can defeat me? Vader doesn't respond with words. He attacks. Vader versus Count Dooku. The duel begins with an explosion of violence. Vader opens with Gem-So power strikes, heavy, aggressive blows designed to overwhelm Dooku's defensive form. In the original Attack of the Clones, young Anakin tried this approach with 2 lightsabers and got his arm cut off. Dooku's Makashi was too refined, too precise. The curved hilt gave him leverage advantages. His economy of motion made Anakin's wild swings look clumsy. This time is different. Vader combines the raw aggression of Gem-So with 2 decades of additional experience. He knows Dooku's fighting style intimately, studied it after becoming Vader, analyzed recordings of the Count's duels, learned its strengths and weaknesses. Makashi is devastating in single combat against most opponents, but it has a critical flaw. It was designed for lightsaber-to-lightsaber dueling in a more civilized era. It struggles against overwhelming power and environmental attacks. Vader provides both. His opening combination drives Dooku backward, high slash, low cut, pommel strike, reverse grip spin. Each attack flows into the next with mechanical precision. Dooku parries beautifully, his blade creating the minimum necessary deflection for each strike, but he's forced to give ground. His expression shifts from curiosity to focus. "You've been trained well," Dooku observes, his voice calm despite the pressure. "Better than any Padawan should be. Who taught you to fight like this?" "You did," Vader says. "In a future you'll never see." He attacks again, but this time he adds what young Anakin never could: environmental manipulation. While his lightsaber engages Dooku's blade, his free hand extends. A section of the landing platform tears free and hurls toward Dooku's flank. The Count is forced to leap sideways, breaking his defensive rhythm. Vader presses the advantage, his blade screaming through the air in a diagonal cut that Dooku barely parries. The elderly Sith realizes he's in genuine danger. This isn't the reckless Padawan he expected. This is someone who fights like a Sith while wearing a Jedi's face. He shifts tactics, adding dun moch, psychological warfare through taunting. "Your anger is showing, young one. The dark side flows through you. I can feel it. You're already falling, just as my master predicted." "I fell decades ago," Vader responds, his voice flat. "This is me climbing back up." He launches a force push that staggers Dooku. The Count recovers quickly, using force speed to close distance and attack with a rapid thrust sequence. 1, 2, 3 strikes aimed at vital points. Vader parries each with minimal movement, his Soresu defensive knowledge layered beneath his Gemso aggression. He's fought thousands of duels in his life. Dooku is skilled, but Vader has fought Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar in both their primes. He's fought Luke Skywalker on Cloud City. He's killed Jedi Masters by the dozen during the Purge. Count Dooku, for all his aristocratic skill, is just another obstacle. The Count senses this. He sees death approaching in the form of a 19-year-old with the eyes of someone much older. He reaches for his signature escape tool, Force Lightning. Blue-white energy erupts from Dooku's fingertips, the same technique he used to incapacitate young Anakin in the original timeline. The lightning arcs across the platform, seeking Vader's body. Vader raises his left hand. The lightning strikes his palm and stops, not deflected, absorbed, caught in a force technique that requires precise control and significant power. He holds the lightning, feels it coursing through his organic hand, and for a moment he's transported back to the Emperor's throne room. Palpatine's lightning destroying his suit systems, killing him slowly while Luke watched. Not this time. Vader absorbs the lightning, pulls it into himself and channels it through his body. His midi-chlorian count, over 20,000 per cell, acts like a capacitor. Then he releases it, not Dooku's lightning, but his own. Force lightning erupts from Vader's fingertips for the first time in this timeline, possible only because this body has no cybernetics to short-circuit. The power is staggering. The Chosen One's raw force potential channeling the dark side through an organic body with no mechanical limitations. The lightning doesn't just strike Dooku, it consumes him. The elderly Sith throws up a force barrier, deflects what he can, but the sheer volume overwhelms his defenses. Dooku staggers, his clothing smoking, his skin burned. His lightsaber drops from nerveless fingers. He falls to one knee. Vader closes the distance. His blue blade, still blue, despite the dark side techniques he's using, comes to rest at Dooku's throat. "Your master promised you power," Vader says quietly. "He lied. You were always meant to be replaced." "I know because I was your replacement." Dooku's eyes widen. For the first time, genuine fear crosses his aristocratic features. "How? How do you know that?" "Because I lived it. I became Darth Vader, Sith Lord, Emperor's enforcer. I killed Jedi for 20 years. And every moment of it, Palpatine was looking for someone stronger, someone better. You were expendable. I was expendable. Everyone is expendable to him except himself." Dooku processes this. His pride wars with his survival instinct. "If what you say is true, join me. Together we could overthrow him, take control of both the Republic and the Confederacy. You have the power. I have the infrastructure. We could." "No." Vader's voice is absolute. "This ends here. Your war, your manipulation, your master's plans, all of it ends." He executes Dooku cleanly. One stroke. The curved lightsaber hilt falls to the platform, its master's body collapsing beside it. Behind Vader, someone speaks. "Anakin, what have you done?" He turns. Obi-Wan stands at the platform entrance, lightsaber still ignited, his expression a mixture of shock and horror. Beside him, Mace Windu has arrived, drawn by the force disturbance of the duel. "I killed a Sith Lord," Vader says simply. Mace approaches, his Shatterpoint ability screaming warnings. He looks at Dooku's body, at the scorch marks from forced lightning, at Anakin standing over the corpse with no visible remorse. He was defeated, disarmed. You could have taken him prisoner. He was a Sith. He would have escaped, or been rescued, or corrupted whoever interrogated him. This was cleaner. That's not the Jedi way. I know. Vader deactivates his lightsaber. But it was necessary. Obi-Wan steps forward, his voice gentle but firm. "Anakin, we need to talk. Not here, not now, but soon. Something is happening to you. We've all seen it. The power you've displayed, the techniques you shouldn't know, the way you fight. This isn't normal Padawan development." Vader meets his former master's eyes. The man he loved like a brother. The man he maimed on Mustafar. The man who watched him burn and walked away. "You're right. We need to talk. But first, we need to deal with the real threat. Dooku wasn't the Sith master. He was the apprentice." Mace's expression sharpens. "Explain." "The Sith Lord controlling everything is in the Republic, in the Senate. And I can prove it. The Council confrontation. The Jedi Temple, Council Chamber. Sunset, over Coruscant. 12 seats in a circle. Vader stands in the center, surrounded by the greatest Jedi Masters in the galaxy. Obi-Wan stands behind him, supportive but concerned. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut. Yoda speaks first. "Won the battle we did, but at great cost. 43 Jedi dead, 100 more wounded, and young Skywalker in the center of it all. He was." Ki-Adi-Mundi adds, "The reports from Geonosis are troubling. You displayed force abilities far beyond a Padawan's level. You killed Count Dooku in single combat." Obi-Wan says, "You used force lightning." "That's a dark side technique." "It is," Vader confirms. He's not hiding anymore, not deflecting. The time for truth has come. Mace Windu leans forward. "My Shatterpoint ability has been warning me about you for weeks. You're not the same person you were a month ago. Something fundamental has changed. Explain." Vader takes a breath. This is the moment he's been preparing for since the elevator. "Because I'm not the Anakin Skywalker you knew. I carry knowledge of events that haven't happened yet. In another timeline, another life, I became Darth Vader. I fell to the dark side, helped Emperor Palpatine destroy the Jedi Order, and served as his enforcer for over 20 years. Then somehow, impossibly, I woke up in my 19-year-old body with all those memories intact. I've been trying to prevent that future from happening." The council chamber goes absolutely silent. Then Ki-Adi-Mundi speaks, his voice sharp with disbelief. "That's impossible. The future isn't fixed. Visions of possible futures are common, but claiming to have lived an entire alternate timeline." "I'm not claiming a vision," Vader interrupts. "I remember everything, every moment. The Clone Wars lasted 3 years. Order 66 was transmitted to the clone army, and every trooper turned on their Jedi generals simultaneously. The inhibitor chips in their brains, organic control devices implanted during development on Kamino, ensured absolute obedience. Over 10,000 Jedi died in a single day. The survivors were hunted down over the following years. I killed most of them personally. I've been overseeing the Kamino facility. I've seen no evidence of behavioral modification implants in the official documentation. The Kaminoans were told they ensure loyalty and reduce independent thinking. The real purpose is to execute Order 66, a directive to eliminate all Jedi. Palpatine commissioned the clone army through a proxy, Jedi Master Sifo Dyas, who he then had murdered to cover the trail. Plo Koon's respirator hisses. "You're saying the clone army is a trap?" "It's worse than a trap. It's the weapon that will destroy the Jedi Order. But not if we act now." Mace stands, his hand drifting toward his lightsaber hilt. "You said Emperor Palpatine, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine?" "Chancellor Palpatine is Darth Sidious, Sith Master. He's orchestrated this entire crisis. The Separatists, the clone army, the assassination attempts on Senator Amidala. All of it is his design. Count Dooku was his apprentice, operating under the Sith name Darth Tyrannus. Together they've been playing both sides of this conflict to accumulate emergency powers that will let Palpatine transform the Republic into an empire. The council erupts in objections. Ki-Adi-Mundi declares it impossible. The Chancellor has been a friend to the Jedi for decades. Oppo Ranchisis notes there's no proof. Depa questions Vader's mental state. Only Yoda and Mace remain quiet. Yoda closes his eyes, reaching through the Force toward the Chancellor's office. He does what he should have done years ago. Looks directly at Palpatine with full Jedi perception, not trusting the man's surface presentation. And there, beneath layers of concealment refined over 1,000 years of Sith tradition, he feels it. The void. The absence. The darkness. A disturbance, I sense, Yoda says quietly. The council falls silent. Around the Chancellor, a void there is, as if shielding himself he is. From us. He's done this before, casually, and always sensed the Chancellor as a stable point, a fulcrum around which politics pivoted. Now looking deeper, knowing what to search for, he sees something different. The Shatterpoint isn't stable, it's manufactured, a carefully constructed facade hiding a fracture point so profound that the galaxy's fate balances on it. He's right, Mace says heavily. Something's wrong with Palpatine. I can see it now. I have evidence. Everything I know about his dual identity, his connection to Dooku, the clone army's true purpose, the planned empire. I've compiled it into a data packet. He transmits the encrypted file to the council chamber's main terminal. I've also sabotaged the inhibitor chips. When Palpatine tries to transmit Order 66, most clones will ignore it. But we need to move against him before he realizes what I've done. Shak Ti speaks up. I can verify the chip claim if I return to Kamino immediately and examine the behavioral modification implants. There's no time, Vader says. Palpatine will sense something's wrong. He's already suspicious. I can feel his attention on me through the Force. If we wait, he adapts. He escapes. We have one chance to do this right. Plo Koon examines the data packet. This intelligence, some of it could be verified independently. Communication frequencies, financial records. But it would take weeks to. We don't have weeks. We move now, tonight, or we lose the initiative. Master, what do you sense? The ancient Jedi is silent for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice carries the weight of 900 years. Felt it, I have. A void around the Chancellor. Dismissed it, I did. My failure, this was. Too certain we were. Too arrogant to see what was before our eyes. The council debates. The argument is fierce. Half want to move immediately, half want more proof. Vader lets them argue for exactly 5 minutes. Then he plays his final card. I killed the Tusken Raiders on Tatooine. All of them. Men, women, children. 43 beings slaughtered because they hurt my mother. I felt no remorse then. I feel none now. That's the darkness in me. The dark side that consumed me in the other timeline. It's still here, every moment, whispering that power is all that matters. I've used dark side techniques, force lightning, invasive mind probes, environmental kills. Everything you fear about me is true. This level of honest self-incrimination is unprecedented. But I'm telling you the truth about Palpatine, because the alternative is that you all die. The Jedi Order dies. The Republic dies. And I become the monster that helps kill it. I can prove I'm right about Palpatine by taking you to confront him. His reaction, his defense, his techniques, they'll prove what he is. But only if we move now, before he runs. We vote. All in favor of confronting the Chancellor, based on Skywalker's intelligence, raise your hand. Yoda raises his claw. Mace raises his hand. Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, Agen Kolar. 6 of 12. Majority carries, Mace says. We move against Palpatine, but not the way you attempted in the other timeline. He looks at Vader. You said 4 Jedi walked into his office, and most died. We do this differently. We plan. We coordinate, and we bring overwhelming force. Vader nods. This is better than he hoped. I recommend a strike team of your 6 best fighters. Palpatine is the most dangerous being you've ever faced. He moves faster than you can track. His force lightning can incapacitate multiple opponents simultaneously. He knows Sith techniques that have been refined over 1,000 years. You cannot afford to underestimate him. Mace assembles the team, himself, Vader, Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, Agen Kolar, and Plo Koon. 6 Jedi, all council members are close to that level, all with different combat specialties. They plan the approach, timing, formation, fallback positions. Vader briefs them on Palpatine's fighting style. Form 7 Juyo, aggressive and unpredictable, combined with Sith sorcery and psychological manipulation. Meanwhile, Yoda coordinates the backup plan. He alerts Bail Organa, Padme Amidala, and key loyalist senators, provides them with evidence of Palpatine's dual identity, prepares them to broadcast it across the holonet the moment the strike team engages. This prevents Palpatine from framing the Jedi as traitors, the political counter that destroyed them in the original timeline. As they prepare to leave, Obi-Wan stops Vader. "Anakin, whatever you've become, whatever you've done, you're still my brother. I don't understand what's happened to you, but I trust that you're trying to do the right thing." Vader looks at the man he left burning on Mustafar. "In the other timeline, I hated you for 20 years, blamed you for everything, but you were right to stop me on Mustafar, right to try to save me from myself. I'm sorry for what I became. Mustafar, you'll understand later, if we survive this." They depart for the Senate building, 6 Jedi, moving through Coruscant's night, approaching the office of the most powerful Sith Lord in 1,000 years. The assault on Darth Sidious. The Republic Executive Building at night. Red guards stand at attention outside the Chancellor's office. Inside, Palpatine sits behind his desk, reviewing holographic reports. He senses the Jedi approaching before they enter the building. His force perception is too refined to miss these powerful presences converging on his location. He smiles. Finally, the moment has come. The Jedi enter without requesting permission. The doors open, and Mace Windu leads them in, lightsaber already in hand though not yet ignited. Vader, Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, Ajen Kolar, and Plo Koon spread out in formation, surrounding Palpatine's desk from multiple angles, cutting off escape routes. Palpatine looks up with practiced surprise. "Master Windu, what brings the Jedi Council to my office at this late hour, and with such aggressive positioning?" Mace's voice is hard. "Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, you are under arrest for treason against the Republic and for operating as the Sith Lord Darth Sidious." It hardens. Palpatine's eyes sweep the room, calculating. He focuses on Vader. "Anakin, my boy, surely you don't believe these accusations. I've been nothing but a friend to you, a mentor when the Jedi Council doubted you." Vader meets his gaze. The man who destroyed his life, the man who orchestrated Padme's death, Luke's suffering, the galaxy's subjugation. "I know exactly what you are, Palpatine. I know what you're going to do. And I know it ends here." Something flickers in Palpatine's expression. Recognition? Suspicion? "What did you call me?" "Palpatine. Not Chancellor, not Master, just what you are, a parasite who's fed on the Republic for decades. But I've seen your future. I've lived in your empire, and I'm here to ensure it never happens." The yellow Sith eyes ignite. The transformation is instantaneous. The kindly Chancellor vanishes, replaced by Darth Sidious in full fury. He rises from his chair, and in the same motion, 2 lightsabers appear in his hands from hidden compartments in his sleeves. The crimson blades ignite simultaneously. So Sidious hisses, his voice now a gravelly snarl. "The boy knows. Interesting. Very interesting. I sensed something wrong about you, young Skywalker. Some contamination in the timeline. Some anomaly. It appears my instincts were correct." He moves. The stories about Sidious's speed are true, but understated. He's a blur, faster than most beings can track, augmented by force speed and decades of refined technique. In Revenge of the Sith, he killed Ajen Kolar and Saesee Tiin in the first 3 seconds of combat. Here, prepared for exactly that tactic, the Jedi are ready. Vader meets the first strike with a gem so power block that shakes the room. The impact of Sidious's blade against his creates a shockwave that cracks the office windows. Mace engages simultaneously from the opposite flank, his Vapad form channeling Sidious's own dark side energy back at him. The battle explodes across the office. Sidious is the most dangerous combatant any of them have ever faced. His twin blades create a crimson whirlwind. He attacks Ajen Kolar with a spinning strike that the Zabrak barely parries, follows immediately with a thrust towards Saesee Tiin that the Iktochi deflects by millimeters. Kit Fisto guards the exits, his Shicho fundamentals providing solid defense. Plo Koon uses the Force to hurl office furniture at Sidious, forcing him to divide his attention between lightsaber combat and telekinetic defense. But Sidious is playing a different game. He's not trying to kill them all, he's trying to break their formation, isolate targets, create chaos. His Dun-Merc psychological warfare begins immediately. You think you can defeat me? He snarls at Mace. I am the culmination of 1,000 years of Sith tradition. The rule of two, refined across 30 generations, has led to me. Mace doesn't respond. His Vapad form creates a superconducting loop. The more dark side energy Sidious pours into the fight, the more power Mace has to channel back. But even Vapad has limits. Sidious's raw power is staggering. Vader attacks from the other side. His Gem-So strikes coordinated with Mace's rhythm. This is what makes the difference. In the original Revenge of the Sith timeline, even Mace couldn't finish the job alone. He needed help, but got betrayal instead. Here, instead of Anakin betraying Mace, Vader fights alongside him. Sidious recognizes the threat. He focuses on Vader with intensified attention. You're no Jedi, boy. I can feel the darkness in you, the hatred, the anger. You've killed with the dark side. You've tasted its power. Why fight for them? They fear you. They'll never accept you. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as... I already ruled the galaxy, Vader interrupts. Striking. As your slave. For 20 years. Never again. Sidious's composure cracks slightly. He doesn't understand what Vader means, but he senses truth in the statement. It makes no sense, but the Force doesn't lie. He attacks with renewed fury. Ajin Kolar moves in too close. Sidious's left blade catches him between parries, a spinning strike that punches through his defense and into his side. The Zabrak falls, badly wounded but alive. Kit Fisto immediately fills the gap, his blade work preventing Sidious from finishing the kill. Saesee Tiin attacks from above, leaping and striking downward. Sidious blocks with one blade while blasting Force lightning from his free hand. The Iktochi's natural resistance to Force attacks helps, but the lightning still staggers him. He crashes into the wall, smoking, but conscious. The office is destroyed, furniture smashed, windows shattered, scorch marks across every surface. The fight spills out of the office into the corridor. Senate guards respond, but Plo Koon handles them. Gentle Force persuasion that sends them away. This is Jedi business. Clear the building. His twin blades never stop moving. He's killed Ajin Kolar, wounded Saesee Tiin, driven back Kit Fisto. But he's also tiring. Even a Sith Lord can't maintain this intensity forever against multiple Master-level opponents. They reach the landing platform overlooking the Coruscant cityscape. The night sky is filled with traffic streams and building lights. Sidious stands at the platform's center, breathing hard, yellow eyes blazing. "You cannot defeat me," he roars. "I am the Senate. I am the Republic. I am the..." Mace Windu's blade catches one of his lightsabers in a Vapad bind. The purple and crimson blades lock. Sidious tries to break the bind with his second blade, but Vader is there, blocking it with his own weapon. For a moment, the four blades are locked. Sidious, caught between Mace and Vader, realizes he's in trouble. He does what he did in the Revenge of the Sith timeline, abandons the lightsaber duel, and unleashes Force lightning, not at one target, but at all of them simultaneously. Blue-white energy erupts in every direction, a storm of Sith power that should overwhelm any defense. Mace absorbs it with his lightsaber, the purple blade conducting the energy into the ground. Kit Fisto does the same. Plo Koon creates a Force barrier. They're prepared for this tactic because Vader warned them it was coming. Vader does something different. He extends both hands and catches the lightning directly. No lightsaber, no barrier. Just his organic body with 20,000 midichlorians per cell, absorbing the energy like a sponge. Sidious's eyes widen. "Impossible. You taught me this," Vader says. "In the life you don't remember. You taught me everything. How to use pain, how to channel hatred, how to survive when survival seems impossible. And now, I'm going to use everything you taught me to end you." He releases the lightning, not back at Sidious, at the platform itself. The energy conducts through the metal structure, creating a circuit with Sidious at the center. The Sith Lord screams as his own lightning, amplified by Vader's power, courses through him. Mace doesn't hesitate. He closes the distance while Sidious is distracted and brings his purple blade down in a clean strike. Not at the arms, as in the Revenge of the Sith timeline. Not a disarming cut, a killing blow. Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith, last master of the Rule of Two, dies on a Senate landing platform. Killed by the weapon he spent decades forging, turned against him by a power he never anticipated. Knowledge of the future. The body falls. The yellow eyes fade. The darkness in the Force that has clouded the galaxy for years suddenly lifts, Every Jedi in the temple feels it simultaneously, like a weight removed from their shoulders, a fog clearing from their minds. Yoda, meditating in the council chamber, opens his eyes. Gone he is. Defeated the Sith are. Across the city, in Padme's apartment, she receives a coded message from Bail Organa. It's done. Broadcasting evidence now. The HoloNet erupts with the revelations. Palpatine's dual identity, his control of both Republic and Separatist. The clone army's true purpose. Everything released simultaneously to every news outlet, every Senate terminal, every public broadcast channel. The galaxy reels from the revelation. Within hours, the narrative shifts. The Jedi aren't traitors. They're heroes who discovered and stopped a Sith conspiracy. The emergency powers granted to Palpatine evaporate. The Senate scrambles to establish emergency governance. Resolution. The man between dark and light. 3 days after Sidious's death, Vader stands before the Jedi Council again. This time, the atmosphere is different. Less hostile. More uncertain. Mace Windu speaks. Saved the Order, you have. Saved the Republic. Exposed the Sith conspiracy and helped us end it. For that, grateful we are. But sense the darkness in you we still do. Deep it runs. What you are, Skywalker? A Jedi it is not. Vader doesn't argue. You're right. I'm not a Jedi, I haven't been for a long time. Even if most of that time exists in memories of a timeline that won't happen now. Yoda adds, your power is extraordinary. Your knowledge saved billions of lives. But the dark side energy in your Force signature is unlike anything we've encountered in a living Jedi. The way you killed the Tuscans, the way you executed Dooku, the way you fought Sidious. Those were not the actions of a Jedi. Kit Fisto, who fought beside him against Sidious, speaks up. But they were the actions of someone trying to do the right thing. I've fought alongside many Jedi. I've never fought alongside someone more committed to protecting others, regardless of the cost to themselves. Plo Koon nods. The dark side is in him, yes, but he controls it rather than letting it control him. Is that not what balance means? Not the absence of darkness, but the choice to use it for light. The arguments are complex. Vader saved them, but he used dark side techniques to do it. He's more powerful than any Padawan should be, but he uses that power responsibly. He killed without mercy, but the targets were legitimate threats. Finally, Mace makes the decision. We cannot grant you the rank of Jedi Knight. You've proven yourself in combat, but you've also proven you operate outside Jedi principles. However, we also cannot simply exile someone who saved the Order, so we offer this. Leave the Jedi, but leave with our blessing. No charges. No punishment. No restrictions. You're free to live as you choose, with our gratitude. Vader expected this. It's fair, even generous by Jedi standards. He removes his Padawan braid, the same braid he removed in the other timeline when he became a knight. This time, it signifies something different. Not promotion, release. He places his lightsaber on the floor in front of Yoda's chair. I'm not asking to stay. I'm asking you to let me go. That the balance you seek find you will. Vader turns to leave. At the chamber door he pauses. Master Yoda, one more thing. The Sith shrine beneath this temple, it's been clouding your Force perception for 1,000 years. You might want to cleanse it. Yoda's ears perk up. Know of this? How do you? Because in the other timeline, I stood in this chamber and slaughtered everyone in it. I felt the darkness beneath my feet then. I'm asking you to remove it so no one else ever feels compelled to do the same. Outside the chamber, Obi-Wan waits. Anakin? I'm not Anakin anymore. I don't know what I am. But I'm not that boy you trained. What will you do now? Live. Try to build something better than what I was. Protect the people I care about. Maybe that's enough. Obi-Wan pulls him into an embrace. You'll always be my brother, whatever else you are. Vader returns the embrace stiffly. Physical affection still feels foreign after 20 years in the suit, but he appreciates the gesture. Leaving with Padme waits at her apartment. She's been following the news, the revelations about Palpatine, the prevention of the Clone Wars, the Jedi's victory. She knows Anakin was at the center of it all. When he arrives, she's on the balcony overlooking the city. He joins her, and they stand in silence for a moment. You did it, she says finally. You changed the timeline, stopped the war before it really began, saved the Jedi, killed Palpatine. We did it. Your broadcast was critical. Without the political preparation, Sidious could have framed the Jedi as traitors even after his death. You prevented that. She turns to face him. What happens now, between us? In the other timeline, they married in secret, hid their relationship, and it destroyed them both. Young Anakin's passionate love and Padme's political pragmatism couldn't survive the pressure of the Clone Wars and Jedi restrictions. But he's not young, Anakin. In the other timeline, I told you I loved you and asked you to marry me. We did, in secret, and it ended with me force-choking you on Mustafar while you were pregnant. So I'm not going to ask you to love me. I'm not going to demand anything, I'm going to tell you the truth. Which is, I need you to live. That's not negotiable. But whether you want me in your life beyond that is your choice. I'm damaged, Padme. I carry memories of atrocities that will never fully go away. The dark side is part of me. I'll never be a simple man or a good man by most standards. If you want to walk away, I understand. Padme looks at him for a long moment. This man who saved the galaxy but can't save himself, who carries the weight of a timeline that won't happen but feels real, who killed hundreds but prevented billions of deaths. I don't love you, she says honestly. Not the way I might have loved the boy from Tatooine, but I respect you. I trust you, and I think I could build something with you. Not a romance from a holodrama. Something real. Something based on honesty and shared purpose. Probably, but it's what I'm offering. She takes his hand. Flesh and blood, both of them. Let's leave Coruscant. Go to Naboo. Bring your mother like you promised. Build a life that isn't about war or politics or the Force. Just living. Vader nods. I'd like that. Naboo. Years later. 5 years pass. The Varikino Villa on Naboo. Evening light over the lake. Shmi Skywalker Lars, she kept the name even after moving to Naboo, sits on the balcony, healthy and whole. The torture on Tatooine left scars, but 5 years of peace have healed most of them. Inside, Padme reads Senate briefings. She resigned her seat but stayed politically active, advising from a distance. Without the Clone Wars, the Republic began reforming. Emergency powers were dissolved. Palpatine's loyalists were rooted out. Democracy strengthened rather than collapsed. In the garden below, 2 children play. Luke and Leia Skywalker, 5 years old, chasing each other through the grass. Luke trips over a root and scrapes his knee. He doesn't cry. Instead, he reaches out instinctively with the Force and lifts a flower from the ground, offering it to Leia as a distraction from his own pain. Leia takes it, delighted. Her Force sensitivity is just as strong as her brother's, manifesting in different ways. Where Luke is intuitive and empathetic, Leia is sharp and willful. Vader, Anakin, he still doesn't know which name fits, watches from the balcony. He feels the dark side pulse at the edge of his consciousness. It always does. Some nights he wakes gasping, reaching for a breathing apparatus that isn't there, hearing the echo of a respirator that never existed in this timeline. Some mornings he looks at his hands and is shocked to find flesh instead of black gloves over mechanical fingers. He is not redeemed. Redemption implies the slate is clean, and his never will be. In another life he committed acts that can never be undone, even if, in this life, they never happened. He carries the memory of every atrocity like scars on a body that bears no physical marks. But he is here. His mother is alive. His children are alive and safe. His wife, they married openly 2 years ago, with Jedi blessing, in a small ceremony at this villa, is alive. The Jedi Order stands. The Republic endures. Palpatine is dead. The Separatists fragmented without Sith leadership. Some systems returned to the Republic, others formed independent governments. There were conflicts, skirmishes, diplomatic crises, but no galactic war, no mass slaughter, no Order 66. The clone army was decommissioned gradually. The Jedi Council, with Shak T's verification, exposed the inhibitor chips. The clones were given choices: join a voluntary defense force, pursue civilian careers, or settle on designated worlds. Captain Rex visited Naboo once, thanked Vader for freeing them from slavery they didn't know they had. It was an uncomfortable conversation. Vader knew these men in both timelines, as brothers in the original, as victims of his own hand in the other. Rex sensed something in him, some shared trauma, but didn't press. The Jedi Order reformed under Yoda's guidance. The attachment doctrine was relaxed, not abandoned, but acknowledged as too rigid. Obi-Wan was elevated to the Council. Ahsoka Tano, when she eventually joined the Order in this timeline, found an organization more willing to listen to dissent. The Sith shrine beneath the temple was cleansed. It took 6 Master-level Jedi 3 months to purge the accumulated darkness. When they finished, Yoda reported that he could see clearly through the Force for the first time in decades. Decisions that had been clouded became obvious. The Council's perception sharpened. And every year, on the anniversary of Sidious's death, Vader receives a message from Mace Windu. Just a simple acknowledgement. The galaxy is better because you lived. May the Force be with you. But he keeps the messages. Padme joins him on the balcony. She's pregnant again. A 3rd child, unplanned, but welcomed. In the other timeline, pregnancy meant death. Here, it means life. You're staring at your hands again, she observes. He closes them, opens them, flexes the fingers, just making sure they're real. She takes one of his hands in hers. They're real. Below, Luke reaches out with the Force and levitates a small stone, showing it to Leia. His control is instinctive, natural. The power of the Chosen One's bloodline, manifesting in the next generation. But without war to corrupt it, without Palpatine to exploit it. Vader watches his son use the Force, with the innocence he lost at 9 years old on Tatooine, the day he left his mother in slavery. Something in his chest tightens, not the dark side, not rage, not grief. Something older and simpler, hope. He will never be the hero of this story. He is the weapon that broke its wielder, the monster that clawed back toward something resembling humanity. The dark side will always live in him, a second heartbeat that never fades. Some nights it whispers that he should take control, that power is all that matters, that protecting his family requires crushing anyone who might threaten them. He doesn't listen, not because the voice is wrong, power does matter, and threats are real, but because he's learned what happens when he listens. He's lived that future, he's seen where that path leads. Instead, he chooses this: evening light over Naboo. His mother healthy, his wife alive, his children growing up free, the Jedi standing, the Republic enduring, the Sith destroyed. It's not redemption, but it's enough. Padme squeezes his hand. Come inside. Dinner's ready. Your mother made that Tatooine dish you used to love. He follows her inside. Behind them, the twin sons of the system. Wait, no. Naboo has a single son. He corrects the thought. The memory of Tatooine's twin sons is from another life, another ending. This ending is different. Luke and Leia run inside, laughing. Shmi sets the table. The family gathers. For the first time in either timeline, Anakin Skywalker sits down to dinner with everyone he loves alive and safe. The darkness still pulses at the edge of his awareness. It always will. But tonight, in this moment, the light is stronger. Epilogue, the Chosen One's legacy. 20 years later, the Jedi Temple, Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, now a senior council member, teaches a class of younglings. He's telling them about the Sith War, how a conspiracy that took 1,000 years to build was destroyed in a single night by Jedi who refused to accept the inevitable. Was Anakin Skywalker really the Chosen One? A young Togruta asks. Obi-Wan considers. The prophecy said he would bring balance to the Force. In one timeline, he might have done it through destruction, becoming the very thing he was meant to destroy, then finally turning back at the end. In this timeline, he did it through prevention. He stopped the darkness before it could consume everything. But he used the dark side, another youngling objects. The histories say he killed with anger, used Force lightning. That's not the Jedi way. No, Obi-Wan agrees. It's not. Anakin Skywalker walked a path between light and dark that the Jedi Order had never seen. He carried darkness within him but chose to use it for light. Whether that makes him Jedi or something else entirely, history will decide. But he saved us all. That much is certain. On Naboo, in the Varakino villa, Vader, he's finally accepted that both names fit. Anakin for the people he loves, Vader for the power he carries. Works in the garden with Luke. His son is 25 now, a skilled pilot and Force user, choosing not to join the Jedi but to live freely. Leia is in the Senate, following her mother's path. But with her father's intensity, she fights for clone rights, for separatist reconciliation, for the ideals the Republic claims to represent. She's fierce, brilliant, unstoppable. Padme watches her daughter's career with pride. The third child, Ben, named for Obi-Wan at his request, is 15. He's at the Jedi Temple, training. Unlike his father, he walks the pure light side path. No darkness, no conflict, just dedication to the Jedi way. It's the greatest irony. Vader's son chooses what Vader could never be. Shmi passed away 3 years ago, peaceful in her sleep, surrounded by family. She lived to see her grandchildren grow, saw her son build a life beyond the one that destroyed him in another timeline. Her last words were, "You did it, Ani. You saved us all." Vader visits her grave sometimes, talks to her about the children, about Padme, about the galaxy, about the weight he still carries and the peace he's still trying to find. He never tells anyone, not Padme, not Obi-Wan, not even Yoda in their occasional conversations, that sometimes he still hears Palpatine's voice. Not real. A memory. A ghost of the timeline that didn't happen. The Emperor whispering that power is all that matters, that attachment leads to suffering, that only through the dark side can he protect what he loves. He tells the voice, "You're dead. I killed you, and everything you built I destroyed before it could begin." The voice doesn't respond. Ghosts can't. But Vader knows the temptation will never fully disappear. The dark side is part of him. The knowledge of what he became, what he could become again, lives in his memory like a scar that won't fade. So he chooses, every day, every moment, to be something better than what he was. Not a Jedi, not a Sith, something in between. The chosen one who broke the cycle by refusing to repeat it. Luke finds him in the garden, staring at nothing. "Dad, you okay?" Vader blinks, focuses on his son, 25 years old, alive, free, never touched by the empire that consumed him in another life. "I'm fine, just remembering." The other timeline? Yes. Luke sits beside him. "Do you regret it? Carrying those memories? Knowing what you became? But without those memories, I couldn't have stopped it. The burden is the price of preventing the horror." It is. But look around. See what it bought. Luke looks. The villa, the lake, the garden, peace, life, freedom. Worth it? The planets he destroyed, the suffering he caused. Then he thinks of this timeline, the Jedi who lived, the war that didn't happen, the children who grew up free. "Yes," he says, "worth it." That night, Vader stands on the balcony one last time. Padme is asleep inside, their bedroom dark. The children are in their own homes, living their own lives. The lake reflects the stars. He reaches out through the Force, feels the galaxy, vast, chaotic, beautiful. Feels the Jedi on Coruscant, the politicians in the Senate, the clones who became citizens, the separatist worlds rebuilding. All of it alive, growing, changing. In the other timeline, this galaxy was crushed beneath the Empire's boot. Trillions suffered. Hope died. Here, hope lives. The dark side pulses in his chest, his second heartbeat, his eternal companion. But stronger than the darkness is the simple truth. They won. The Sith are destroyed. The Jedi stand. The Republic endures. And Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, the chosen one who walked between light and dark, the weapon that broke its master, the monster who clawed back toward humanity, finally allows himself something he thought lost forever. He allows himself peace. Not redemption. That's not possible for what he was, what he remembers being. But transformation, change, the choice to be better than the sum of his worst actions. As the stars wheel overhead and the lake catches their light, Vader closes his eyes and breathes. Real lungs, real air, real life. And for the first time in either timeline, he's content. The future is unwritten. The past is acknowledged. The present is enough. The chosen one brought balance to the Force. Not through destruction, but through prevention. Not through redemption, but through ruthless, honest transformation. The prophecy is fulfilled. The galaxy is safe. And Anakin Skywalker, at last, is free. Let us know what you'd like to see next. The end.